All right. Hello, hello. Hope everyone's doing well. How is the day? Let's see it. Volume check's looking good. Audio capture. There's two bars here, and I don't know. Is that normal? Something's happening. Is the audio doubled up for some reason? Well, what is happening to my stream? I think it's working, but I seem to see a doubled audio very slightly, or maybe that's normal. I actually don't know. There's... Sounds fine to me. Hello! Pepperly and Vegas, how are you? That's good. I'm glad it sounds fine to you. Okay, I'll just pretend that it's fine then, and carry on with my day. Here we go. Let's do the webcam. Flip that up. There we go. Howdy, howdy. Hope you're all doing splendid. All right. How do I like last stream's painting? I like it. That's it. I like it. I mean, color-wise, interiors are so hard. They're really hard to get like a good range of colors. You know, if you want like a nice shadow, it's kind of interiors for me. And I know you can obviously do interiors, especially you know, obviously you can do nice interiors with good lighting. But like if you're trying to do like a cave or something, it's just you get really crummy lighting. I mean, even in real life, so it's hard to find good references. You have to be really clever with your lighting setup to have nice lighting. And the problem with bad lighting, just like if you're doing a portrait or something, you just get like the samey color shadows, or you don't get a nice clear delineation of where the light is, where the shadows are. You oftentimes get just a soft light or something. It's hard to get. I don't know. Like I don't know. Other than that, I like it. I like this painting. I think it would be kind of fun to do a detail stream at some point. Not today. Maybe just do some rendering on this stuff. I could see myself getting a little carried away with all the shapes, painting little skulls, you know, doing details on the wall. There's a lot we could do here. For sure. Hey, Commander. Hey, Commissar Skull. I don't know why I read your name as Commander. I know what your name is. How's it going? Commander Skull. That's a name. Okay. Hold on. My glasses are all smudgy. I am not going to do thumbnails today. I'm just going to jump straight into a painting. Lap some colors on the canvas. See where the wind takes me. Not the wind, but the pixels. See where the pixels take me. I'm a little tired today, if you can't tell. I am not, because now I ascended you. You're a commander. Yeah, you have ascended. Infinite Wumbo. Hi, Joe. I'm early for a change. You're right on time. Yeah, you are a little earlier than normal. But yeah, I haven't even put the first brushstroke on the page. Just gonna go double check that I have my time-lapse recording. I do. Here, I'm gonna do this so you can see. In Clip Studio, you have time-lapse feature. It's very handy. As long as it's recording, then any brushstroke I make will be recorded. What should I paint today? Any suggestions? Let the pixels guide you, friend. Yeah, letting the pixels. Richiana, how's it going? Hello, hello. Hope you're doing well. How did anyone do anything fun for Halloween? Any fun Halloween stories? Or did anyone eat candy? Something spooky? Well, we just painted catacombs, and it was just Halloween. Isn't that how we do it at least in the U.S.? You know, Halloween, the second Halloween's over, we're focused on the next holiday because it's all about marketing. No, I don't know. I know in like grocery stores and stuff, it's like the second one holiday ends, it's like it never existed. They're just as quick to get rid of everything as possible. You know, music changes, decorations change, just like the day after. You know, not even a mere 6 hours later from the end of Halloween to the time the store opens, it's like there's no sign of Halloween hardly, other than maybe like the remnants of the leftover candy, but that lasts for like all of a day. People are still coming to your house at 11 p.m. I haven't done, I don't know enough about trick-or-treating. When does trick-or-treating start and typically end? I assume anytime like the sun goes down, so like what, like 6 p.m. or something? Or is that too early? Playground. Ooh, a playground. I'm not sure I want to paint a playground. I don't know. I mean, I guess it could be an area with people playing. It's a playground. Grounds to play in. But whenever I think of playground, I think of like the little colored plastic toys, like the slides and the swing sets and stuff. That doesn't seem fun to paint for me. Unless there's like a story happening, then we could do something there. People were still coming to your house at 11 p.m. I think it starts at 7. Okay, gotcha. I had some candy. I ate some candy, but I didn't really do any. I mean, I work on Saturday morning, and it was kind of a busy day today, or yesterday, however you want to call it. But I work in the wee hours of the night or the morning. So I was asleep for Halloween. Like, I was just sleeping. 5 to 6 is when the youngest kids drop by, and I think 7 and 9 is when it's most active and dies pretty quick by 9. Okay. See, yeah, I never really knew, because I've never been much of a trick-or-treater. And I always have the same problem with, like, fireworks on holidays, like the 4th of July. Like, I assume it's just when it starts getting dark. But at the same time, I always think of it as like a night activity, but then I don't really think of 6 and 7 as like nighttime, you know? I guess in July it's still not even dark by 7 or 8. But like for some reason in my head I think of nighttime as like 11. And so when I think of trick-or-treating, I think of like 11. But I realize that's way too late. Anyway. I'm gonna paint some stuff. I don't know. Maybe we will do something with like a playground or some sort of, I don't know. Could be something. Took your daughter to Disneyland. Oh, fun! Fun. How I've never been to Disneyland. How is Disneyland? Cool art. Thank you. I quite like this solid yellowish color. It's very nice. Worked very hard on it. No, I appreciate it. This is what we did last stream. I'm gonna start something new here in just a moment, though. But yeah, how was Disneyland? I don't know anything about it, really, other than everyone always speaks very highly of it. It's always very fun. I've never heard people say, oh, it was a bore. You know, it seems like people always love it. But yeah, I've never been to Disneyland. It was a blast. She's 2. Nice. I imagine even at that age, just the recognizability of like the characters you see on TV is probably pretty crazy for them. I don't know enough about. I mean, at 2, I don't know how much. There's probably some pointing and seeing like Mickey Mouse and stuff if they watch that. Have I seen Jocelyn Carmy's art? No. Jocelyn Carmy's art. Let's see. Maybe I have. ArtStation. Oh, I don't know, actually. Here, I'll put it on screen. Jocelyn Carmy's. This person's. I like their art. See some architecture. It's very nice, very sunsetty. Nice colors. It vibes. Good vibes. I feel like I should know their work. Yeah, their stuff's great looking. Very graphical. They have a. I feel like there's a. Oh, I have seen this one. I've seen some of these, I think. Like, I've definitely seen this one. But yeah, very, very graphical reads, right? Everything, if you were scrolling past Instagram, every single one of these, if you were to make your screen grayscale, you can tell exactly what it is. Look at that. Like, super dark silhouettes against light backgrounds, right? Everything is very good shaped language and reads very, very well. Everything is framed. Yeah, Jocelyn Carm. Yeah, I'm only just now learning of them. I didn't know about I didn't know their name until now. It's wanting me to sign in. Uh-oh. Leaked my email. Uh-oh. Doxed myself. For shame. No, yeah, their art's nice. I like it. Look, very, very cool stuff. Look at the big swirls. I like that. Yeah, very graphical stuff. Very... The colors are obviously amazing. I like it. I also like this stuff just because the storytelling is very much up my alley with, like, not a lot of storytelling. Like, it's some storytelling, but it's not narrative, right? It's more concept art. Just, you know, or backgrounds, even. Right? But, like, this kind of thing where it's, like, you know, kids hanging out, walking through a place, stuff's happening. You know? But, like, you don't really know what's happening. You don't really know where this is. You don't know what this is or why it's there, but it looks cool. But it kind of tells a story. This looks like Inception. Is this straight up? I assume this is from I don't know. Are these studies from movies? Is that what this is? I don't know what this is. Illustrations you made this year. This one just looks straight up Inception, right? Isn't this literally from that scene? Maybe not. That looks like Ryan Gosling. Anyway, I'm done looking at other people's art. Let's make some of our own. Alright. Art making time. Jocelyn. Yeah, I don't know how to even say their name. Am I saying that right? Jocelyn Carmies? Okay. Let's try to paint something. No thumbnails today. I'm just going to jump straight in. Let's get some colors down. Let's start with a little bit of a color palette type thing. That's how you say it? Okay. Because I know that name typically has a Y in it, right? Isn't it normally spelled Jocelyn, Jocelyn? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's not how you spell it. Anyway. How dare she spell her name wrong? No, it's always funny when people have different spellings of names. It always trips me up for a moment. Anyway, this is a nice color. This is like winter-themed, kind of. Winter colors. Maybe we get some darker colors in here, too. Like a dark gray purple. Oh, that's green. Oh, I kind of like the green. That's nice. The green and the blue in here. Get the bluer sky, maybe. It's kind of amazing what you can do with just some simple colors. And some blending, you know? You just blend the colors, you get new colors. Maybe some clouds. Okay, I don't want to go into details on what I'm painting yet, because I don't know what I'm painting. So let's figure it out. Maybe some shapes. I still want to play around with colors. So I'm trying to just color the canvas with the... Because we have this yellow in here, which actually is kind of nice. I do wonder if maybe we can't get some of that bright yellow-green. Maybe we go a little more lime today. I think that's a nice color palette. What do you guys think? Okay color palette or not? Yay, nay? Yay or nay? Maybe something else in here. Some poopy clouds. Maybe the poopy clouds have... I don't know. Some other look. I think that's not bad. Now, if this is our color palette, what do we want to paint? We could paint a landscape. I know I kind of already made this look like a landscape. I'm falling asleep, heard poopy clouds. Could be poopy clouds. It's like when you look up at the clouds and you see shapes. Maybe you see that. I don't know. Everybody's their own person, Vegas. Maybe that's what you see. Oh, we get a bot to ban. Please don't click a link, anybody. We're gonna click more and ban user. Yay, we've got one. We got a bot to ban. It's always exciting. It's always a good day when you get to start the day off or start the stream off with banning bots. You know, that's how you know it's gonna be a good stream. Even the bots are coming in. No, it is genuinely fun to ban bots. I take some joy in it. Okay, let's take these colors and shift them up a little bit towards red, maybe. And so I'm taking that purple cloud color and putting it down near the light. Maybe we even crank it higher with the color. And like put a pink. And so these pink... but yeah, I don't know if I want to paint just like a field like this. I mean, it feels nice, but maybe we do... I don't know. Those purple things are clouds? I mean, they could be. It could be clouds. They could be something in the distance, like giant crystals. Last time I reported a bot, it got banned. Oh, see, I don't report them. I just banned them from my channel. I can't be... I mean, my guess is when they do things like that, when they pop in channels, they're simultaneously popping in, like, every channel. So that if you do report it, it will be reported by many, many people at once. And then some threshold, you know, if 100 people at the same time and 100 different channels all report the same account, it's probably pretty easy for them just to ban it just automatically. Because, like, the only other way that would happen would be some, like, crazy coordinated streamer fraud or something. I don't know how else you would do it. So it's probably not that hard for them to, like, if they get some amount of reports from different channels who are all live, then just ban them, and then they can review it later. Like, probably that's my guess. I don't know. It's probably some pretty simple system like that. Whereas if it was actually just you, it probably wouldn't, right? I don't know, maybe they do. Maybe they have an active user or reviewer system. But yeah, I don't know what this is. Maybe purple clouds. Maybe we have stuff back here. I mean, actually, maybe we do thumbnails. Hold on, let's do some quick thumbnails, but on a different... Well, no. I like this. We're just gonna go with the flow. It will play with shapes. I'm just playing with green shapes, so basically I'm treating this as a black and white painting right now, and I'm carving out shapes. So even though I have color on the screen, the green doesn't have to be anything that is actually green. They have a machine review system, probably looking for keywords. True. But it'd have to be more than one account, though. Just because you have someone saying, would you like to buy viewers, doesn't mean they're, you know, and then somebody reports them doesn't mean that they're going to get banned. Like, that would be a really, really ham-fisted, is that the right word? Ham-fisted system? Where it's just, it would be so poorly implemented that would be banning people left and right who are not bots, if that were the case. There'd have to be some automated check to see if they had, like, you know, are they spamming in multiple accounts at once? Or multiple channels? Are they, like, because then it's like, whether it's in a bot or not, at least it's they're spamming, right? And that's not good. I don't know. But yeah, I'm sure they have some automated system. But the criteria for the automated system is what would matter. They can't just be banning people willy-nilly because somebody is annoying. Let's see. What do I want to paint? Also, this is a focal point, kind of, but it's in a weird spot, so let's move it. Let's move some colors. I mean, maybe not, though. Maybe we actually keep these... Maybe we make some nice shapes in here. I'm feeling... I don't know. I'm feeling lazy today, a little bit. I know I probably say it a lot when it comes to art. I think I'm a lazy artist. Oh. It wouldn't take much of key activity to be easy to hammer. Probably, but people like to troll, though. And people like to, like... You get a lot of communities where the second a bot comes in and says something, people start, like, mimicking it. So I don't think that's tricky. Like, you could argue, yeah, but they deserved it? Probably, but you still get trolly behavior on the internet. That isn't bot. So it have to be stretched over multiple accounts. Because, like, I think if that were the case, you'd be underestimating the power of people in rowdy communities. Like, you get some game streamer who has sort of an unhinged community who's just spamming for attention. That kind of thing. Like, I don't think they're banning keywords in those chats. Twitch certainly isn't. I mean, there's no way. Maybe there's a way. I don't know. That feels like a good way to ban people who don't deserve to be banned, though. Now, in small channels, that's super common to ban keywords. And I'm sure big streamers do ban keywords also, but, like, I don't think that would be grounds for... I don't know, for, like, a site-wide ban? I don't know, that seems risky. I don't know much about it, though, so maybe that is how they do it. I don't know. You probably know more than I do, by the sounds of it. But yeah, I don't know what I'm painting. I'm just kind of making swirls, making shapes, until an idea pops into my head. Trying to make it look cool in the meantime. Yeah, I feel like banning systems in general need to be pretty, like, carefully thought out. Because then you don't want to be banning people who don't deserve to be banned, right? And so you can't do it, like, based on vibes. Like, I think in my own channel, right, I can sort of ban based on vibes because I'm one person and I have a pretty good sense of, like, what is okay to ban. But I also could, in theory, end up banning some... This is the same issue that stores deal with, like, shoplifters, right? Like, sometimes it's pretty easy to look at someone who is clearly acting suspicious, and they, you know, take an item off the shelf, they walk down the aisle, you lose sight of them, 10 seconds later they pop back out and you don't see the item. You're like, they're stealing. Like, 99% they're stealing. But I didn't see it. They weren't on the cameras, and so it's really hard to, like, prosecute. You know, it's hard to be like, I'm gonna ban you from the store. Because what if you're wrong? You know, like, there is a chance that you've screwed up. You didn't see something. It's hard to investigate. And, like the behavior seems suspicious, but, like, is that enough? And you know, it's fine if the store owner wants to make that call, but if you applied that across the board to thousands of stores with hundreds of thousands or millions of customers, you're gonna randomly be banning people that were just, I don't know, somebody stuck you know, something, they stashed it behind a loaf of bread because they didn't know where to put it or something. And like, suddenly you're banning people for like weird behavior, but not something you should actually ban them for, right? I'm saying the key activity is name of website plus posting a bunch of the same website across a bunch of channels. Oh, yeah. That would work. Yeah, that would work. Yeah, if they're using the same message across a bunch of channels at the same time in a short time frame, yeah, that would absolutely work. Certainly enough to, like, do a temp ban and then, like, flag it and then somebody can review it or something. But yeah, I don't know, a lot of banning systems are... I'm a big, I guess maybe, I don't know if it's what it is, but it probably has something to do with doing art, but I'm a big, like, process person, and it always bugs me a little bit when companies or really anyone implements, like, some sort of policy that just has obvious, like, lack of process and lack of sort of, like, if the process isn't airtight, it always bugs me a little bit, where, like, I don't know, it just feels, it just annoys me. Obviously, it depends on the consequences too, right? Like, I think if you want to do that in your own stream, that's fine, but yeah. Thank you for the follow! Connie Artist, how are you? Hope you're doing well today. Let's put some yellow in here. Speaking of okay, I have a story that bugged me. This has nothing to do with Twitch or banning or anything, but anyone who's been here before knows that I can go on rants about surveys, like survey questions and how they're asked and like what information are you actually gathering based on these questions, because different people interpret things differently. And so, like, if you don't word things correctly and you don't be careful about the nuance of that, you might end up getting results that tell a story that is not what you were looking for, right? It's really easy to have, like, sloppy wording in, like, a survey question. And obviously with surveys, people are going to answer randomly, but ignoring all that, because you can still normalize that with enough data. And you can... But anyway, so at a grocery store where I work, corporate, so not me, because I work at, like, the store level, but they have a survey that they ask customers, not employees, but customers. And in fact, they actually go out of their way to ask customers who are employees, they actually ask them different survey questions because they know, because it's connected up to their account. So this is very clearly, like, the survey is obviously targeting non-employees, right? Because they have a different one. And so I have a coworker who will, like, if a customer comes and dumps all their stuff off, if they're still unloading, she'll turn the monitor and answer the survey, like, she'll, like, rig it for herself. And this is, like, a manager, like, one of the like a, not a top level manager, but, you know, like a middle manager person who's, like, she's clearly, like, padding the stats for our grocery store and for herself. And I called her out on it. I'm like, this is so stupid. Like, you are literally polluting their data. Like, not to say that, you know, like, the survey was already stupid, don't get me wrong. Like, they asked dumb questions, and I could rant about that too. But, like, you are actively, like, if they were trying to get good info on, like, how to improve the store, you're not helping them. You are making it seem like we're doing better than we are, which is actually hurting us, because if they want to, you know, allocate resources or, like, get a sense that, like, maybe we aren't doing things in a very good way, and, like, obviously, you know, their best interest is money, but, you know, even if the best interest is, like, making a good experience for the customers, she's not allowing us to be helped if corporate looks at our stats and, like, oh, you guys sure are doing good, you know, customers love you. And it just always bugged me, that kind of thing. it rubs me the wrong way, even if it's for something as unimportant as a grocery store survey. It's always rubbed me the wrong way when, like, you have people who are just, like, it doesn't matter about what has happening because it makes them look good in the moment or so. I don't know. Just that to me is a very similar thing where it feels like a process issue where it's like they're just focused on the outcome, not the input. And of course, a survey giver needs to be aware of these issues. That's why survey data is not great, because you don't really know what is in the mind of the person filling it out. They might just be hitting random buttons. They might be motivated by other reasons, like making themselves look good. But it still bugs me. So beautiful painting. Thank you, Luna. I appreciate it. Pepperly says, there is nothing I hated more at Target than the absolute insane surveys and how they timed our checkouts when 80% of the speed depends on the person buying stuff. Oh yeah, they do that where I work too, although I'm not a checker, thank goodness. Is there... Well, I don't think there's a... So, yes and no, Druffzilla. There is a perceived punishment. So, gosh, this is a whole nother rant. The work culture in... I want to just categorize and say in grocery stores, but at least in the grocery store I work at. There's a lot of, like, perceived punishments. The same, and this goes not just to, like, this stuff, but it's sort of... Like, for example, if you get a talking to, they don't even word it that way, but let's say corporate calls and says, hey, we got reports of something, right? You know, customers complained about, you know, their cashiers are, you know, on their phone all day, right? That, in the eyes of management, is seen as, like, a bad thing, instead of them being like, oh, I didn't know about this thing, right? Let me try to fix that because we do want good customer service, right? If instead of, like, they will see a solution being implemented as a bad thing, right? So there's sort of a perceived badness, right? It's the same as when, like, you get store visits from management and they want to see how the store is running. And, like, so they bring in all this extra staff to, like, polish up the store and make it all squeaky clean. And then, you know, corporate comes and like, oh, everything looks very clean. Looks like you don't need any extra hours because clearly you can make the store look nice, right? Whereas if instead they saw that maybe some things aren't getting done, and then they can inquire as to why they're not getting done, maybe you don't have the man hours, and then something can maybe try to get fixed, right? But, like, we're unionized. We're not getting fired because we don't have enough people to get the job done, right? If anything, it's just that will be a signal to corporate who can actually maybe make choices, and, like, that will alert them that, like, maybe, you know, maybe this is a widespread problem. But if everybody is covering up the problem by making it seem like it's not a problem, nothing can possibly get fixed. And that just bugs me so much, because everybody has this mindset of wanting to make themselves look good at the expense of everybody else. And it's not just one issue, right? It's every single step of the way. There's, like, this perceived, like, you know, you're being watched by Big Brother kind of thing, so you do whatever you can to make yourself look better. I could rant about this. This is not just, like, at grocery stores. This is in politics and just everybody. This is like a human nature thing. People do this all the time. Oh boy. But yeah, it's like, can we try to make the world a better place and not a worse place? And maybe you'll be a little bit embarrassed, but that's okay. That's how you get help. It's because of I mean, maybe. I mean, when you're just, like, a random manager who makes as much as I do, but you have slightly more, like, I don't know, there's a lot of just social pressure to, like, it's the same thing with, like, calling out for work, right? Where if you're understaffed and you call out, you feel bad because you know your employees or your coworkers aren't gonna have... They're going to be understaffed, and you know it because they are, right? And so you feel bad when they call out, and then also if you're a worker and someone else calls out, you get all pissed off because now you're overworked. And so everybody feels bad if they have to call out, which incentivizes people to call it, or to not call in sick when they are sick, right? It encourages them to come into work because they feel like the bad person for doing what they should. And there's an incentive to do the exact opposite of what they should, which is to come in to, they should stay out sick when instead they're incentivized to come in, right? And so you've basically, maybe market dynamics, I don't know what you want to call that. I don't know enough of that lingo, but it's just, this is like, you've basically created a system in which the process, I call it the process, but the system itself is incentivizing behavior that is opposite of the results they want, right? They obviously don't actually want people to come in when they're sick. Not really, but they kind of do because that's what they're incentivizing. Anyway, this happens a lot. It's just, if you're gonna, or, people think they're gonna be punished. Again, it's not like a real thing, right? You're not actually gonna be punished if you call in sick, but there's sort of a social punishment, right? People look at you annoyingly because you made them work harder, or you made them think that they had to stay in extra overtime because no one else was going to do the job, when really it didn't fall on their shoulders, but they took the burden upon themselves, right? Well, what I mean is, like, they don't... So the management might want that, right? Same thing. When I say management, I mean, like, low-level management. They might want you to come in sick because they are then overworked, because then it falls onto them. But, like, in theory, right, if you were to ask, like, very top-level management, no, they don't actually want people to be getting sick. I don't think so. The system creates a social pressure to where everyone feels like everyone else should come in sick. I don't know if that makes any sense. But it's extremely apparent when you're both in it and as an observer of the same thing. It's not like a real desire. It's kind of like the difference between like in psychology, there's like stated preference and revealed preference, right? And this has to do with markets as well. But it's like when people will say, if you show them 5 options, they'll say, this is my favorite. But then they go into stores and buy a different one because there might be other pressures to do a thing than just purely based on flavor, right? It's not always the case that what you say you want is actually what you end up doing, right? You can end up doing a thing differently than what you say you want, right? Same thing with like saying, I want to exercise tomorrow. I do, but I'm probably not going to exercise tomorrow because I'm going to wake up, I'm not going to feel like it, it's going to be the last thing on my mind. But right now, I'd love to exercise tomorrow, right? And there's this happens a lot where, like, I think people do. If you were to ask them, of course they don't want people to be working sick. They can put themselves in that person's shoes. They can say, if I were that person, would I want to have to work sick? And they'd say, no, of course not. I don't want to work sick. I don't want them to work sick. But come time when they're sick, there's a social pressure to work sick. And there's a social pressure for them to be grumpy when their coworkers are sick. And so in a sense, they do want them to work sick. But not really. Like, it's sort of again, it's like saying they want to exercise, but they don't really. Kind of. Not really. I mean, they do. They do want to, but they don't do it. Anyway. Hey, everyone. Hey, Celestian. How's it going? So, yeah, anyway, I think those dynamics are really interesting. They also just piss me off because I feel like I see them everywhere I look, and you see people doing things against their sort of their own, not their own best interest, because what do I know about their own best interest, but their own stated interest. Hey Casey, how's it going? So yeah, I feel like it's kind of a thing. It's very pernicious. Is that the word? Casey, I think I asked you on your stream, or I was lurking and you were talking about it, but how was TwitchCon? TwitchCon and Lightbox. Mostly, actually, how was Lightbox? I haven't heard anybody talk about Lightbox yet. I know a couple people in our community went there. I did not. It's going well. Just got back from Cali a few days ago and been grinding hard to catch up. What does that mean, grinding hard to catch up? Catching up to whom? To whom? Who are you, like, just pumping those numbers up? Like, what's the... they were both really good. Met a lot of cool people. That's awesome. I'm definitely jealous. Just a bit. Just a tad. Yeah, we are painting, we're not even doing thumbnails today. We're just jumping straight into a painting. I'm slapping color on the screen. Seeing where it takes me. Nothing, I'm kind of in a tired mood a little bit, so I'm just sort of... I want to do a lazy day painting. Maybe some fields of flowers and stuff like that. You met a lot of cool people. You have your big Vaquita event next week on front page. Oh, I didn't know that was still happening. I thought that was like being pushed because I remember the last thing I remember you saying was that you weren't going to be able to do that event on the front page because it was going to be poorly timed. But apparently that's happening again. That's awesome. So you're trying to prep for that and also decide to do Dinovember and be like a crazy person. That is a lot to do. And also trying to draw ahead a bit on those. Nice. So when you say prepare for that, is that like studying up on the Vaquita facts that you can answer any and all questions? Are you just becoming a Vaquita expert, basically? And having like source material and like resources you can point. So the actual Save the Vaquita day was the 25th, and I couldn't stream that day, but I was able to go live on their stream and promote the event. Oh, nice. That's cool. Yeah, I saw photos of you walking around with the big Vaquita. That was really cool. Prepping your stream, updating overlays, figuring out charity goals. Okay, gotcha. Gotcha. See, I would be terrified of, like, not knowing enough about the thing, so I would just have to learn as much as I possibly can. And if you gave me a long time, I would spend most of that time trying to learn about the thing more. I'm sure you already know a ton about the Vaquita, because you know. But, I mean, heck, I didn't even know what a Vaquita was until you. So you've certainly spread the knowledge at least a little bit. You've certainly, you know, if the mission is to spread awareness, you have certainly succeeded. I feel like at least on Twitch. Yeah, it's working. Absolutely. Awareness is the whole goal. Yeah. And also not just the Vaquita, but just a lot of animals that are endangered in general, I feel like, because of your stream. Where, like, you know, you're doing your animal sketching, and then you bring up a page, and like, oh, and then even on the wiki page, it'll say, like, critically endangered, you know, 4,000 species exist, or whatever, or 4,000 individuals of the species exist, and it's like, oh, that's not very many. Or in some cases, it's down to, like, double digits, and yeah, that's a good use of the platform for sure. Better than what I'm doing. I just randomly yap about stuff that is probably not as important. Actually, it's not even close to as important. But the community is great, and it's, what's the saying? It's the friends we make along the way. Something like that. You spoke at some panels on TwitchCon about using stream for conversation. Lots of people seemed interested, which was cool. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I think the educational side of Twitch is... I mean, it's one of those things where, like, I think it exists whether you want it to or not. I mean, just look at any sort of influencer where, like, they have a big audience. Like, people do imitate, and they learn, and they absorb information. Even if those people don't see themselves as an educator, they are educating people, right? They are influencing people. They are changing how they think. And so, like, being aware of that and just, like, being a little more conscious of the types of things you say and the quality of information I think that can do a lot of good, potentially, to just like spread good stuff as opposed to bad stuff. I don't know. Doesn't seem like it's not that novel of a concept. If you have a microphone, don't say stupid stuff. Say enlightening stuff, or say, educational stuff. Don't say stupid stuff. You heard it here first. That's don't be dumb, be smart. Yes. That's the branding. No, but yeah, I do think that's something that I feel like, especially like even around like art, messaging, and even in video games, right? This is something that I sort of fell in love with Twitch initially was, I know, very profound. I'm quite the thinker of our times. But no, even with video games, this was something that I noticed early on in Twitch, and it's one of the things that really sort of made me like Twitch is like, I would be watching like the speedrunning communities, or in League of Legends, you'd have people who are educating about how the choices they make and what they're doing moment to moment in the game. It wasn't just them like raging and getting angry, right? There was like an educational side of even game streaming where they're teaching people who enjoy their hobby how to play their hobby at a higher level, right? And it's like that's an educational stream. It might be playing video games, but still you're learning stuff about how to think, how to problem solve, how to like analyze what you do and sort of correct it, because you're like, oh, I didn't like that outcome. What did I do that led to that? And then you fix it and you learn, and like that whole process of getting better at stuff. Like, I think that is a really valuable thing on Twitch. Not every streamer does that, of course. But that's something that I kind of fell in love with on Twitch. I'm like, oh, you can talk about a thing that you care about and educate people on the choices of how to do it. I don't know. Hello, Froster, and how's it going? Hope you're doing well. Pepperly says one of your favorite channels does a little essay every time they introduce a game. It's so cool. Oh, that is cool. Like an essay about the game, like what kind of essay? I'm curious about that. That sounds interesting. Casey says, yeah, definitely the opportunity to use stream to educate could be utilized a lot more. I talk about that exactly on your first panel. Nice. I feel like education is super overlooked on Twitch, and it's also a way to bond with your community. Teaching is a good tool for a lot of stuff. Yeah. Yeah, a while back there was gosh, I wish I knew their name. Because I kind of went to their stream once and I never went back because I don't know if I even followed. I don't think I did. Or maybe it was just like a one-off stream. But there was a history streamer who was just like basically just telling stories. And I mean, that's what history is, right? It literally has story in the name. But they were telling stories, and that made you actually want to listen. Whereas like a lot of history teachers, right? It's like, today we're doing in this thing in 1462 something happened, and like I'm asleep. But this person was very good at telling stories, and it's just like, oh, this is really interesting. And they're talking about, things, they're setting the scene, they're coloring it in a way that like would be somewhat accurate at times, and it's like you kind of care. It's almost like you're reading a good book or listening to a good book, kind of. I don't know, and it's like, oh, this actually makes me interested in the topic. And it's cool that there's a lot of, some of them are straight up educational streamers, and other people are, insert thing on Twitch, but with an educational, like, tone, I guess. I think if I wanted to learn something in particular, I don't think I would go to Twitch, right? Now, you could, but I think for me, the biggest thing about Twitch and educational streamer is more about, like, just the influence of hearing people think critically, talk sort of in a way. It's like the way of thinking of something gets sort of spread, right? Like I guess it's very similar to just spending time around people, whether it's parents who, demonstrate a behavior to their children, not because they're talking about it, but just because they're doing it through action. They drop something on the ground, and instead of, swearing and stomping their feet, they're like, oh, I better not have it near the edge next time and let me go clean it up. And like, you know, they do the thing that is demonstrating good behavior, and it like, because of that, the kid learns from, right? And I think the same is true on Twitch. Like, that is such an opportunity to show, like, I think a lot of people who do like variety streams in video games where they're learning new games and they're basically putting themselves in a situation where they're a complete beginner and they're terrible and they're failing and they're still having fun with it. I think those are really healthy streams. Like, I think of all the streams on Twitch, you know, that are not specifically educational streams, the ones that show themselves in a way that is, you know, like, they're not even trying to be an expert, right? They're just trying to fumble through gracefully and learn along the way and not be afraid of making mistakes. I don't know, that stuff to me is so important. Like, I think if I had to sort of categorize my ideal streams, it's basically that. If they have a healthy attitude towards learning. Anyway, I think I've said all this before when you've been here, so I'm preaching to the choir here, but yeah, I always like to, at least to reiterate my stance, because I think it's good. And I take this stance on art too, although right now I'm not yapping about art. But if anyone ever has any questions about art, or what I'm doing in art, and how anyone can learn to paint and have fun with it, yeah, feel free to ask questions. Froster says, I'm doing all right. A little tired. Stayed up late yesterday because of Halloween. Nice. Also, I have no tea today, unfortunately. No tea because I ran out of milk, and I always put milk in my tea, and tea without milk is gross. It's not actually gross, but I felt like I'd rather not have tea today if I didn't have milk, so I just water. But yeah, I'm just painting a flowery landscape today. Nothing fancy, very, very simple composition. You drink black tea? Yeah, I drink black tea. Black tea with a little bit of milk. And by black tea, you mean the type of tea, not like coffee, but I'll have it black, like with nothing added. I always get confused. Isn't when people say like I'll have coffee black, they mean without anything in it, right? Whereas when you say black tea, it's the type of tea, which is like, I never know if other people know what I'm talking about when I say I drink black tea, and then I add milk to it. Well, isn't that no longer black? Well, no, it is. But yeah, I basically all the tea I drink is black tea. It's a little bit of milk. I don't like honey or sugar in it, just milk. Whether it's Earl Grey, which I guess technically has some like bergamot or I don't know how you say that word, orange, basically citrus. There's so many kinds of teas, though. There is, but black tea is like a big category of tea. I mean, you have black teas with like citrus in it, but they're still black tea. Black teas often are, you know, they have caffeine in them because it has tea, as opposed to like herbal teas, which isn't really tea. Like, it kind of is, but it's basically just smelly water, or, you know, nice smelling water, fragrant water, which it doesn't really have any real tea in it. Like the plant tea, it doesn't have any of that in it. So there's a lot. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with herbal teas. There's nothing wrong with herbal teas, but they're not, but like, for example, they're just not the same plant. Whereas like black tea all has like tea leaves in it. It all has black tea, but sometimes there's other stuff in there too, like some citrus flavor or whatever. So basically, if the base tea is black tea, I'll drink it. If it's typically citrus tea, I'm not a big fan of, or not citrus, sorry, that's not. If it's herbal tea, typically I won't drink it. So yeah, there's loads of black teas out there. but they're black tea with stuff, and that's fine. I like those. Like there's, you know, chai or vanilla or, you know, Earl Greys, English breakfasts, Irish breakfasts, Lady Grey, all those types of tea that are basically black tea with something in them. Or a blend of different types of teas. You're always drinking iced tea, but hot, I prefer green, including matcha. Nice. All right, what's in the background here? Are these trees? Are they buildings? Maybe a little town. Maybe we get a bunch of like a cute city over here. I like to start with the silhouette of things. So like these could turn into a building. You could have like a little cottage. Maybe this is like a big windmill. But that's one of the things I love about this kind of environment. Is like it's just this nice chill environment, but you can, because all the buildings are in the distance, you can just really focus on the shapes. Play around with that. You're always drinking iced tea, but you prefer green, including matcha. Yeah. So I think I asked earlier, but I'll ask again because there's more people here now, I think. But how was everyone's Halloween? Did anyone do anything? Anyone dress up? I don't know if you're still here, Casey, but if you didn't dress up as the Vaquita, you missed the opportunity. I didn't dress up. I was asleep because I had to work today. But I also didn't see anyone's costumes because I was asleep. I always like... It's always fun to see people in costume and all the creative ideas people have. And the effort people put into costumes. I think it's great. Oh, good point. I should have just taken your Vaquita to parties and gone as a conservationist. Did you do anything for Halloween, Casey? Celestine says boyfriend went to go spend the day with his sibling nibblings. I don't know what nibblings is, but I'm gonna assume siblings. On their outing, I stayed at home to draw. Nice. That sounds like a nice evening. Staying home, drawing when everyone goes out. That's my kind of vacation. Just like not being around people. No, that's not true. I like being around people, but just not too many people. You visited a couple of friends' parties last night after work. It didn't stay long. I socialized so rarely that I didn't want to miss the chance, even though I'm super busy. Gotcha. Nibblings equals nephews and nieces. Oh, I didn't know that. Is that what that is? I had no idea. I don't know if I've ever heard the word nibblings before. Huh. Learned something new. Nibblings. Yeah, maybe I've heard it, but I always assume people were... Maybe I always assume people were typoing. Well, now I know. That's cool. Also, what if this is like a patch of birds? It certainly isn't as common as I thought it was. I thought everyone knew. Yeah, I feel like a term like that sounds... to me, if I had to guess, like, I obviously I've never heard the term before, so I don't know, obviously, but it gives me East Coast vibes. That feels like something people would say in, like, I don't know, I'm just stereotyping here, but like Jersey or something. New Jersey. Not the other jersey. I don't know why, it sounds... Is from Philly? Gotcha. Yeah, I don't know. There's certain language and, like, you know, it's weird how that works, you know? Oh, what if this is like a dragon? Or what if it looks like a dragon? Oh, we're painting dragon art today. Honestly, who knows? It's a word I learned when I met my boyfriend years ago, he was using it and we were in Ohio, so who knows? Yeah, I don't know. Thank you for the follow! Although if this is a dragon, it's weird that it's pointing this way, right? Because... maybe it's not actually a dragon, but maybe I'm just making cool shapes. Sort of like a surreal painting. I don't know. Get some of that blue down here from the sky shining into the shadows, like light tends to do. Maybe we'll get some very blue colors down here. I'm obviously exaggerating it with the blue, but I think it might look neat. And maybe there's some little huts here as well. I think these shapes that I'm making in green, I think they're not going to stay in green. I'm just making them in green right now because that's the dark color of the painting. But it could be any color. I'll probably add like a pink or a lighter or grayish to them to make them feel more reddish. I don't know. Trying to make some buildings back here. Just kind of... I want to keep it on a little bit of a slope. I like that. Maybe these are like... maybe there's blocks of birds. There's a whole bunch of them. So I'm breaking up the silhouette of these things. Maybe they're not actually a dragon. Maybe they're clouds. Maybe they're birds. I don't even know. But yeah, I hope everyone's doing well. I got some discounted candy today. So that was a thing. Hey! Hey, Skittle. How are you? I am tired. I hope it's going well. I am going well. No, I am doing well. Today's a good day. A little tired, which is pretty normal for a Saturday, but but I am cruising. I'm absolutely cruising on this painting, so we might only have a couple hours stream instead of our normal 4-hour stream. Or maybe we'll do 2 mini paintings today. Or not too many, but... what did I mean by that? Maybe we'll do 2 paintings today. 2 tiny paintings? I don't know what my brain was trying to say there. We'll do 2 paintings, maybe. Not too many. The number will be 2. Okay, that was a sentence. But yeah, I'm liking this. Little swirls in the environment. This is very much in my wheelhouse for paintings. I love this kind of thing where you just get like these swirls, graphical shapes. Skittle, did you and Fifi dress up as anything for Halloween? Also, what's this shape? Nah.
Okay, maybe this should be... I'm trying to think how should this shape continue on, you know, what's the gesture here? I like even clouds should have a nice flow to them, you know? Or not just even clouds, but really everything. This is also true for for buildings and stuff, actually. You know, if you can draw a nice line, it doesn't have to be, you know, some people say triangles, like, oh, everything needs to be in triangles and in threes. I don't agree with that. I just think if you can draw like a nice line, to kind of like a best fit line, and it doesn't really matter what it is. It could be the eye line, you know, from one place and sort of curve it throughout the rest. You know, maybe it's a triangle, maybe it's a couple, but like, you know, just having movement that is flowy. I mean, not everything has to be flowy, but it kind of like a gestural line. Or this happens a lot, like if I want to do like a flock of birds, you know, I might make a line that goes like this from background to foreground, and then you can basically paint the things, right, along this. So like here would be the birds flying in the scene, and you would just erase the gaps between them, and then you would have your flock of birds flying towards the scene, right? And you've created a gesture, but it's also like, I don't know, it's kind of a nice way of like adding paths in the middle of your scene. Also, that's going to come through in the... Here, let's try to undo it. That way it doesn't come through in the time-lapse. Nope. Well, that is. Fifi is always dressed up as a demon. A very floofy demon. Nice. Let's add a little bit of a... So, I was just looking at this, and this house, I know it's such a small thing, but I feel like it needs to come in, right? So, if I just duplicate everything, just something like this, just moving it in. Skittle high, says Casey. There, we've got some compositional stuff going on. We can also reflect some more of this if this is water, although I don't think it is. I don't know. Isn't that weird when sometimes you don't even know what you're painting? You're just... I mean, this isn't very deliberate, which, you know, I'm all for, like, deliberate painting. I think it's great. I think it's a good thing to exercise that part of your brain of, like, being intentional about what it is you're making, you know, observing, all the things that artists do, you know, to get better at art. Basically learning to think, learning to observe, learning to think about what you observe, you know, a little bit of planning, having a good process. But sometimes I just turn all of that part of my brain off and just start making shapes and do things that look cool. And I don't even know what they are. Like, is this water? Should it be reflecting the sky? Or is it blue flowers? And sometimes you can turn it into anything. You know, maybe I do turn into blue flowers. Maybe it's just... Maybe these parts are just very glowy and everything's in shadow, and these are like glowy stripes of plants. I don't know. Like, it could be anything. And so sometimes I just have to, like, I don't even care what it is, because if it works, it works. But other times I do try to, like, you know, problem solve my way through. Like, so what could this be? Maybe it's like a boardwalk through a swamp, you know? And so maybe there's like these paths that go in, and there's people on the paths and walking, you know? Did you never switch off the layer when you duplicate the house? Nope. I'm on one layer. I should have right here when I do these lines. But no, my layer managed. I just made a new layer altogether. Yeah, no, my layers, I'm working on basically one layer today, right now. Sometimes I will make new layers, like, you know, if I go back through time, you can see that, like, this was one layer, that was another layer, that was another. How did it work then? How did what work then? Moving the thing? So I I just did it straight up. So what I did, I did Control Alt Shift E, which is I think the Photoshop hotkey, but I'm in Clip Studio. But it copies everything to a new layer. So here, I don't know if you can see this over here. Let me move my face. It's not my face. Here, I'll put my face over here. So if you look over here, which is weird because it's not where I'm pointing, so let's say I have this layer and let's say I have a bunch of new layers. You know, I have layer 1. Let's just say I have a bunch of new layers, right? I'm up here, layer, a whole bunch of them. And if I want to copy something, I obviously can't make a selection here and move it, right? There's nothing in the selection, right? So if I copy, paste, nothing's there. But, so what I will sometimes do is I will duplicate all of my stuff into a new layer. So now, everything is duplicated. So I could even merge this and just turn it off. I'm now on a new layer, right? There's a layer, I have basically a duplicate of everything. I've flattened everything, and then I'll just use this to make the selection. So now if I want to move this part, it's all on its own layer. I can move it, and then from there I just keep painting. Sometimes I'll make a new layer after that, but I did a merge all type thing. We can delete those. Does that make sense? So like before I made this layer, I had a bunch of individuals, but then I compressed it all and I made a new layer. I could have flattened them all, but I do like to have it like a save state, so that's why I do that. It can bog down your process though, or like your file size if you do that too much. Lemon Cat says, Stiller stream, how wonderful. How wonderful for you to be here. Thank you for being here. Merge visible to new layer is the function called. Yeah, probably. That sounds about right. So yeah, it's a little destructive because it's not. But that's the thing, right? If I wanted to make a selection of a whole bunch of things, it's hard when everything that I painted on a different layer, right? Some of the clouds are on a new layer, right? Some of these things are on a new layer, but some of them aren't, right? So how do we make a selection when everything's on its own layer? Well, I just don't worry about it. I just merge everything to be on the same layer, and then I move it from there. But that way I can still use the functionality of layers if I need. Like if I want to do something like a big brave Bob Ross tree in the middle of my painting. Not that I would do this, but if I wanted to, I could add a big tree here. But now I'm not ruining my painting because it is on its own layer. But, so I can always delete it if I want. But once I like it, once I decide that something is going to be where it's going to be, like maybe there's some, lines down here or some flowers or something, then I can just merge them to a new layer. And I don't have to worry about, now I can move them around if I wanted. So I think also becoming really comfortable with hotkeys and just what your buttons are, you painting enough with the same setup. Yeah, I think that's a big thing. I was watching some, what was it? I think it's some Minecraft speedrunners or something. And it was always funny because sometimes when people are trying to level up, they'll rebind all of their buttons because they want to, learn better inventory management or something. So they rebind all their hotkeys, but then they forget what they are. So they just have to brute force, just play a lot, just do random things, jump around, whatever it is. But you just have to get reused. You have to relearn all the buttons. And it just takes time. But I think that's a big part of digital painting is just getting familiar with the tool, which is just putting it in enough time to where your buttons come sort of instinctually. Like, oh, I want to make a selection without looking at the keyboard. I can just come over here and make a selection, you know? And even for me, like it's on it that my L button actually, I think I sometimes do look at my keyboard actually, now that I'm thinking about it, because it's kind of a stretch, right? Like I think I can pretty much hit the button without looking, but I might glance at it very briefly. I don't actually know. I'm gonna have to try to pay attention. But it happens very, yeah, I do very, very briefly glance down there. Most of the buttons, though, I don't have to look at my keyboard. I should rebind L because I don't need my lasso tool on that button. It's too far away. Not that it matters. I'm not like an optimal painter, you know? There's probably a million other things I could do that would be more efficient or optimal that I don't. So, like, why would I focus on keybinds? Like, that's the tip of the iceberg type problem. It just isn't even an issue. I have that stuff bound to your tablet keys. Yeah, I've never used my tablet keys. I just don't... I don't know. I'm not sure why. I just never got in the habit of doing that. I think part of it for me is that I came from Photoshop, and a lot of Photoshop... I'm kind of just making this up. I don't know if this is the real reason. At least it's a story that I tell myself. But a lot of Photoshop is like sort of the universal keys, you know, Control C, Control V, right? Like all that stuff. So like I can use those features in day to day, right? There are obviously hotkeys that are unique to Photoshop, like, you know, flipping your canvas or rotate, right? But a lot of the features I feel like make a lot of sense of what they are. And so I don't know, like B for brush makes more sense than left mouse button 3 or whatever, you know, clicking something on my stylus or, you know, hitting something on my tablet. Also, like, I don't want my hand over here. It's weird to have my hands together when I'm drawing. Like, I'd rather have it over here on my keyboard. I don't know, I feel more in control. Maybe it's just probably habit. I think it's all just habit and preference. I don't actually think it matters. But it just feels weird to me, and I'd have to get used to it. And I'm not convinced that it's worth the effort to get used to it, because I don't think it's more optimal. I actually think using the keyboard is quicker, because I have, like, so many other, like... I wanted to say function keys, but like, you know, control. So if I'm hitting, you know, C or B for brush, I can also hit Control B or Alt B or Control Alt B or Control Alt Shift B or Windows key B or Control Windows B, right? Like you have so many variations that in one hand spacing away, right? Without me having to stretch or move my hand, I have so many more options than I could ever get from my tablet. I don't see why I would want to have to use my tablet when I would inevitably then have to go back to my keyboard for some stuff anyway. Like, why not just have it all in one spot? I don't really... Maybe if I could convince myself of, like, you know, make the argument for why I would need to use my tablet for the buttons, then I would switch. But I can't even make an argument that convinces me. So I'm just, for the time being, I'm just still using my keyboard. It feels more efficient. And I also just like the posture of it, you know? Like, my hands are at elbow length away. Whereas if I wanted to use my tablet, I would have to bring my arm halfway across my body to the side that my tablet is on. And like that feels awkward. Or like if I were painting, like, I have to hold it? That just is weird. I don't want to have to paint with 2 hands, basically. Also, this feels very Disney. Let's find some quick references. I know we're a little early to do that, probably, but... Gonna find some references real quick. Stick them in a Purifile. I want to make these buildings feel more building-esque. I want them to feel more more whimsical building. Ooh, that's a name. We're gonna rename the stream. Fantasy Whimsy landscape painting. And chillin'. There we go. Whimsy. That's a word. I'm sure whimsy means something more than just spirals, but to me, spirals and whimsy go together. I don't know how these are going to come into use, but ooh, there's some fun brick patterns here. Some pointy buildings. Some stone buildings with pointy roofs. I kind of like... Also, these are weird. Is this... I don't know. It looks real. It's always weird when you have, like, square things built into round things. Like, the geometry to me just doesn't... It breaks my brain to, like, try to even think about drawing this. Like, how would I draw a square sticking out of a circle? It's very, very brain-breaking for me. I don't know if you guys can even see this. Oh, you can. Like, that, to me, breaks my brain. It's like, it's, you know... What about some, like, windmills in Holland or something, or just maybe just Dutch windmills. These big old windmills along the river here. We were looking at these the other day a little bit. They have nice shapes. We could totally do some stuff with that. I like this stuff. This stuff's always been fun to paint. But yeah, if anybody wants to share any art, please do. Also, I should probably be in Discord, shouldn't I? Oh, I am in Discord, okay. Sweet. By the way, I have a Discord if anybody wants to join. We have an art section where anyone can share art. Ooh, we have some very nice art. Drawtober challenge. Dang, so much good work. But yeah, lots of amazing artists sharing stuff. Ooh, oh, so good, Vegas. Inktober drawings. These were shared yesterday, but I hadn't looked at them. I like these a lot. All of these are great. Oh, and Skittle shared some art. Hold on. Is it gonna be noisy? Let's go to Skittles. Oh. I'm gonna click through. Skittle, I don't know if you're still here. You're probably not, because he's probably streaming. I'm curious when he made his short. Did you use, like, just DaVinci Resolve? I wonder? I should have asked. Here, I'll ask in Discord. Don't mind me just type in a Discord at... What program did you use to make that short? You don't mind me asking. I'm always curious because, like, I feel like making shorts is a pain because I don't paint vertically, and so something to, like, quickly... I'm sure you can do it in DaVinci Resolve pretty easily, but... Last time I tried to make a short, I think I made it not short enough. Like, I think it literally... No, this one, it says it's a short, but it lasts for a minute. Last time I tried to make a short, it didn't classify it as a short. I made it vertical. I did the orientation that it was supposed to be, but it was like too long or something, but it didn't tell me why it's not a short. It just ended up not being a short. And I don't know what I did wrong, but I felt like a, you know, an old timer who didn't know how technology works. And so I felt stupid. Like, I know if I would have, as of last year, sometimes 1 minute or less with vertical equals short. Yeah, but yeah, hey Skittle, we were talking about your shorts, your pants. No, yeah, the thing in Discord, this video. What did you edit it in? Yeah, so as of last year, it should automatically be shorts. Or it should be a short. But I think that was already a thing when I did it, and I made it less than a minute, or I made it a minute and 1 second, and it wasn't a short. But yeah, I think it can go up more than that. Like, Skittles is a minute and 7 seconds. So, or a minute and 8. DaVinci Resolve? Okay, I figure you did. I didn't know. So I'm changing the... Okay, let's do this. And then we're gonna make a new layer here because I am gonna paint on a different thing. We're gonna go red. I think that'll work. A bunch of red roofs. But I'm very crudely blocking in the red. In fact, we can even leave some of that green in there, because that can be like the shadow, and we'll probably turn that a little blue here in a moment. This will also help it stand out against the other greens, even if it is the same color. And then a lot of these buildings do have like a much darker material. And again, this darker material could be any color. It's possible that shorts might be up to 3 minutes once you reach a certain amount of milestones for subscribers or something. Gotcha. But I'm not sure what the requirements are these days. Yeah, all I know is last time I tried to make a short, it didn't count as a short, even though I thought I did all the things. And so, you know, it was vertical. It was, I thought, under a minute, but apparently it was like a minute and 1 second. And it never ended up in the shorts category, and I don't know why. And I kind of just was bummed out, and I never investigated more. I should have been more inquisitive about it, but... But it kind of, I don't know. It also takes a while. I think once you have like presets, you could probably do pretty quick edits. But I didn't have presets because I was still trying to figure it out. And apparently my presets, whatever they were, obviously didn't work. So I'm making little squares here. Or not squares, but like rectangles. And then I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna make little walls. Or berms, is that what you call them? No. But little walls. And I'm gonna make them out of blue. So like a very light blue. Basically representing like a white material. Okay, so from looking into it, says Skittle, it appears the requirements are videos updated after October 15, 2024. Any videos uploaded on or after this date with a square or vertical aspect ratio up to 3 minutes in length will be categorized as a short on YouTube. Gotcha. Why is that wall so high? Because it's on a hill. I don't know. What do you mean? Why is it so high? What do you mean? They're on hills. This whole thing's on a hill. I don't know. I'm just making shapes to make it look nice. I'm just trying to graphically... I'll try to make it make sense later. Isn't there that... What's that? It's like a... Not a meme, but like a trend where, you know, make it... Just make it. Step 1 is you make it, and then step 2 is you make it look nice. Right? I don't really... That's kind of the way that I paint. Make it exist first. Yeah. I'm just blocking stuff in. I'm just putting things down to kind of get the vibe. You know, I want the bright walls. If they don't make sense, I'll fix it later. But I just want to block in, you know, block in some light material, you know? Maybe that's windows that are reflecting the sky. You know, kind of like, same with the shapes, right? Like, what is this shape? What is that? I don't know. But it can now turn into a tower. Maybe a tower with a different shape than the rest. But yeah, I guess my painting approach is very much in line with that sort of that trend to make it exist first. I mean, when I'm blobbing in like characters or something, I will literally just take like a, I mean, I won't use orange, but this is just for, you know, I will just blob in a character like this. Like there's a person, you know, they have a head, they maybe shoulders, you know, some shoulders there. They have like a torso, probably not even that, and some legs, you know, something like that. And it'll just be a blob, and it's like, that'll work. I don't need them to look nice. Right? Same with buildings, you know, you want make a building, just make a blob in the distance. Maybe roughly the right value. Okay, I don't really like these shapes though. This one being perfectly parallel with this, it looks funny. Adding some light and shadow here. Maybe a little bit of blue in here. But yeah. I've never made one of those make it exist approach first videos, and then just like, I've never done that trend, but it does, I don't know. That's always been sort of the way that I paint in general, with blobs. Okay. Now, I might have messed up the colors a little bit on this. It looked better before. That's okay. We can darken some of this. I want to try something, though. What if I do, like, a soft light? I'm going into an experiment phase here real quick. Oh, that's ugly. about an overlay? I know a lot of people like overlay, but it always makes things look like sunsets to me. And not everything needs to be a sunset. I mean, maybe it just depends on the color that you use. Ooh, I just realized I can make one of those make it exist first art memes with the tavern bar time lapse. Do it! Do it, Skittle! I shall do that sometimes next week. Yeah. I probably could make some of those too. I feel like I probably have some of the, you know, starting stages of my art and ending stages. What about a glow dodge? That's too bright. I feel like I do need something here. Maybe, you know what? Maybe, okay, I'm gonna try something. This is, I think that my biggest struggle with painting some things is the lighting. Because if you have direct light, it's hard for me to allow myself to paint it bright enough without it, like if I do something like this, it's gonna look bad, right? Or it does look bad. But it might be, that might be exactly what the painting needs, but until I have like a critical mass of lighting, that's just never gonna look good, you know? And so you have to like allow yourself to get it through that ugly stage, that critical mass of lighting where all the pieces start to come together, you start getting enough of the light. At least I think that's what I want to do here. I don't know. Do I like that? I mean, it's a little bit heavy-handed, maybe. I don't know. This is kind of an experiment. You know what? I'm gonna bring this into experiment phase. That's what this is. Experiment phase painting. If it ends up looking stupid, so be it. I don't think it will, but... it needed some sort of more depth in there, so I added another layer. Also, that new layer of depth did sort of pulling double duty with its, you know, having a light on it. Like a ground plane that catches all that light. And then now, because we have that, we can actually go back in with this and add some shadow in here. Maybe some deeper blues. Little specks of it in there. We had a lot of green, but now it... Maybe I guess we can put some trees in here too, maybe. I mean, some of these could be more shaped like that. I do think we gotta change the shape on some of these. What if we bring in an orange? I don't know. I'm kind of just picking a color. I feel like I need some warmth in here, you know? We have a lot of blue. Getting some warmth in there, especially where that sun is gonna like bounce around in the nooks and crannies of this house. So a quick way to sort of get the feel for it. What if I just take an orange and literally paint it over this thing? Now that's gonna be too much, of course, but yeah, that's too much. Also, am I on the wrong layer? I was on the wrong layer. Oh no. This is where the wrong layer is going to bite me in the butt. I hope not. Okay, whew, I wasn't too much on the wrong layer. Okay. I only have like limited undos. I can't undo forever because I don't... It bogs down my computer to have that much... information saved in its memory at a time. So I have it very limited to like 12 undos or something. It's not very many. And it can be a little scary if I don't catch it quick enough. But whatever. If I painted it once, I can paint it again. That's also kind of my motto or my philosophy. I guess it's not a motto. It's a philosophy, you know? I did it once, I can do it again. Worst case scenario, I have to do it again. So be it. I've only been painting for an hour and 40 minutes today. And so, you know, I could probably do this much quicker now. How much RAM do I have? 16 gigabytes. Yeah, I think it is. I think RAM is the issue with that. Yeah. But yeah, I think I have 16 gigs of RAM. My computer's pretty low end. It's old. It's way outdated. Major upgrades are needing to be upgraded. That sentence didn't work right. I need to make some major upgrades, but I just don't have the funds for it, and I can't really justify it. But you know, so long as things work. If my computer crashes and, you know, doesn't turn on one day, then I'll have to obviously be forced to make an upgrade. But right now, it seems to manage. So. I don't think I like this building here. But yeah, I'm not too you know, I keep it pretty low tech when it comes to painting. I don't need the best stuff. I'm not doing crazy things. RAM can definitely be the issue if you're working on a large res art piece above 6,000 by 6,000. Yeah. I also have very low disk space, and I also think for some reason something about my computer is formatted in a way where the main hard drive that I have has very little memory, and I think some things are allocated to that. I don't know why, but like some sort of like working, I don't know how it works, but some sort of like working memory or something that is using not RAM but using disk space, and that will fill up over the course of me painting, even though this program is saved on my other hard drive and all of the documents are saved on my other hard drive. For some reason, it uses my main hard drive for something, like some sort of virtual memory or something, and so that fills up. Yeah, okay, yeah, virtual RAM is generally on C. Yeah, I don't know how to switch that. I wish there was a way to just toggle it onto my other drive, because I'm pretty sure virtual memory is it fills up. So I think that's my issue more than anything. It's a virtual memory space. I don't really know what that means, to be honest, but I kind of do, but not really. Maybe somebody knows how to switch which drive it's reading from. Because yeah, it's reading on my C drive. Usually it's undo states. Yeah, I think that is probably a big part of it. And I think there's a way to clear like your clipboard and all that kind of thing, where anything that you've copied, anything you've undone, and like all that info, I think there's a way to clear all that, just with like a command prompt, but I don't know how to do that. I used to have to do that for in Path of Exile, and that would like fix a lot of the issues. It's a system setting. Try looking up move temporary file page. Yeah, I if I remember, I'll do that, because that would be a good thing to do. I mean, it's not like a major issue, right? Like so far today, it hasn't caused any problems. Some sort of cloud dragon things. Oh, that one looked like a shrimp. It's fairly simple. Yeah, it probably is. Do I like this? I think I do. Yeah, let's save. I think I'm liking where this is going. It has a nice, pleasant mood to it. Some nice colors. It has some lighting, which is more than some of my paintings. Although I'm not really sure what's going on in the foreground. Or the background, to be honest. Maybe I should add some hills or something back there, like behind the thing. Maybe some bluish color stuff. There's a huge hill to our left. To our left. In the image? The viewers. This? I mean, maybe. I think something like that. That's cast. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Something that's casting a shadow here. Yeah. I was actually thinking about adding light in here to like a lot of this plant stuff and just mostly have this in the light. We could do that, right? Something like this. Obviously, I wouldn't do it this heavy-handed, but that would give you an idea. You know, we could do something like that, and then have like the patterns of in dark, like the shadow. But yeah, that's true. We could definitely do some more, you know, green shadow stuff, foliage down here. Maybe that's what I'll do for starters. Is these dark greens. Wow, I go away for like an hour and come back to a nearly finished painting. Is it nearly finished? I mean, I don't know. It's pretty blobby, but yeah, we made some progress. Adding some light did a lot, right? Here's like a before and after. Although, actually, I like the shapes better here, right? These shapes look better. I've really raised... Okay, you know what? That's annoying, actually. I think that's... Okay, I did something stupid here. Funny that now I'm looking at that. Hold on. Let's, how do I do this? Maybe I merge these, and then I can come in here. And, like... Some of these can come downward. I do like the bright stuff here, but it's a little... I think I raised it a little high. The castle behind a hill. Yeah, I think it's interesting, but I don't want it to... I don't know. Maybe I can get some ideas from some things, like maybe some shapes up here. Some little window shapes, some speckles. Again, I'm just trying to paint very loose because I don't think I'm not at the detail stage yet. So I'm trying to just very blob it in. Very blob it in. That, man, my English today has just not been good. And I say that as someone who only speaks English. It's like I'm forgetting how to speak. But yeah, I'm trying to do a little bit more with color. You know, like put in colors maybe that I wouldn't normally. Like some, you know, and by that I mean oftentimes when I'm painting, I use like a very limited color palette, and I'm trying to widen that palette today just a bit. Maybe we get more colors sprinkled in throughout here. Some of those blues bouncing around in the light. In here. I'm just color picking a lot of the roof, or a lot of the sky color, and I'm just putting it straight into the roof. As sort of a way to reflect that light in there. Making, hopefully, the whole thing seem a little more vibrant. Now, windows. I feel like these buildings would have like bright windows, like white. Do they all have white trimmed windows? I mean, all the buildings I'm seeing here have white trimmed. No, some of them have black, but I think mostly it's white trimmed windows. So we can just take the same blue color. This isn't light though, so we can actually take white here. And then here's blue. That's something I also try to do. I mention this a lot when I'm painting. And it's sort of a personal painting philosophy. It's not like a real thing you have to do. But I find that if you're painting like a material, like a white paint, right? You could just stick it in the shadows and say this is a white material, right? Because white material in the shadow by the blue sky is going to look very blue. But also, you can stick it in the sun, so you can do both. So this can be a bit blue, right, in the shadow, and then you have some spot where it's going to cross into the light. And that's where then you're going to, that way you have both light and shadow, and you have these points where this one is maybe almost entirely in the light, this one is part in the light and shadow, and this one is in the full shadow. This just gives you so much more information about what's happening and what this material is. I just think it looks so much better. Like, this to me is a little interesting thing. Like, your brain almost doesn't even recognize it as being like a different brushstroke, right? Like, hopefully your brain will see this all as one brushstroke, but it's not, right? It's two, and that to me is such a important. Like, it's maybe not important. It's important for me when you're painting details to, like, because it's so much easier, right? It's so easy to stick, you know, oh, I'm painting with blue in the shadows because that's going to be white. And you make all of your white windows as blue. But then it just, I don't know, it comes to life once you start putting, oh, I also need some in the light. So basically every material for me needs to be some in light and some in shadow, and some partial, right? You add that variety. It adds believability. It does, because it's like a pattern that we make by sticking to the easy thing to do, which is all light or all shadow. It ends up making a pattern where everything is perfectly delineated along where the shadows are, and that's not how it is. Real life isn't that clean. You have shadows falling everywhere. Anyway, that's something that I feel strongly about in painting. It's not like a rule, but it's sort of my rule, or I try to implement it as best I can for myself. Because I just think it makes it look so much more, more alive, more better. Notes. Oh, yeah. I'm pretty sure you don't need to take notes there, Casey. You've got it covered, but I appreciate it. Sometimes I feel like that, though, where it's like you just hear stuff like, oh, yeah, I know this, but I just need to, like, remind myself and just writing it down. It is a good reminder. Like, same thing with, like, shape design, you know, small, medium, large. It's like, I know better. I know to do those things, and yet I constantly don't because I forget. And, like, you know, I end up with all of my buildings the same size and shape. I hang out here for Jed Talks and art tips, after all. No, well, I'm glad you're here. I'm kind of liking this painting. It's very blobby right now, but I think with a little bit of... But I think that's what's making it good, kind of. It's me allowing myself to just put in lots of little notes of color, and I'm trying not to be too precious with anything. Although I think it's getting time where I start making some hard edges and, like, carving out the shadows of stuff a little bit better. Maybe? I don't know. Especially in, like, the focal point areas, like this main building. Bringing some much darker shadows in here. Although we should have the darkest shadows actually in the foreground, right? So this building should be a little darker. And by foreground, I mean more foreground than that other building. Also, maybe we can go a little bit, like, maybe actual green. That'd be kind of fun. We get, like, a real green in here. Speaking of tips, though, there is another... I have a bunch of... Okay, do you guys do this for yourself? Like, you invent your own rules, kind of, and then you sort of put them to the test? Like, I have another rule, which isn't actually a rule, but it's like my own sort of color thing. And it's not a real color, like, theory tip, but it's basically if you ever have a color that you see, like your brain tells you this is blue, but then you color pick it, oh, okay, this is blue. Like, you know, or your brain I'm trying to find an example. I don't know if I'll have any in this painting because it's very saturated. If your brain ever says this looks orange, but it's not orange, you are now allowed to add orange and it'll look good. Because your brain already saw orange, so if you want to add like a color note of orange, then add orange. Even if that orange was actually gray all along, right? I'm trying to find an example in here. Like, I mean, really it does it for any of it. What if I just add a gray? What does that look like? Nothing, it just looks gray. Okay, maybe this painting's not a good example, but sometimes there's like, you know, those sort of optical illusion colors. You know, that happens a lot when you have, we're just gonna go like this for a second. Right, the classic one, I don't know if this is actually gonna work. Is this gonna work? Is that gonna look bluish? Probably not. I don't know if this looks blue. That doesn't really look blue. But if you ever get a color that kind of looks bluish, right? Like, you are allowed to take the color that you think you see and, like, make it more that color, right? Like, that will for sure look good. Like, you don't need to go overboard, right? But maybe you want to add just a quick color note in there, you know? The rest of it's still that gray, but like, your brain kind of sees it. Yeah, you're adding an accent of the color that your brain already thinks it sees. And that, to me, is just a really nice way where, like, if you're painting very subtly and a lot of blending's going on, your colors tend to get a little dull anyway, right? So, like, if I take, like, a green and I mix it with the orange, like, my colors are gonna tend to get a little dull because, like, you know, this is no longer a green, right? This is an orange, right? Because you can see that I'm painting with orange, but it looks green. And so you are now allowed to add a little color note of green. You know, maybe not the whole thing. That way it sort of brings out the color that you kind of were already adding. Anyway, that's my color tip, is when you're painting with a lot of grays, you're allowed to, like, pull those colors out and sort of emphasize the ones. Obviously, you're allowed to do whatever you want. It's your painting. But for me, it's sort of like if I'm going to add a color, those are the colors to add, or the color, because I'm already mixing those colors. Also, this is very desaturated, so I'm just gonna try something. Anyway, those are like those aren't like real art tips. I don't think there's any, you know, Poyo, I don't know what that means. Hello, RD Draws, hope you're doing well. right. We are gonna do something. I'm gonna go edit, tonal correction, hue saturation. I did not mean to go hue. Oh, I love this already. Hello, Kath, how's it going? This is great, though I often find it hard to formalize this. Well, that's the thing, right? I think those things shouldn't be formalized because they aren't, like, they're very stylistic. They're not real, like, true. There's nothing true about it, right? It's going well. Just had a potato soup. Nice. Just had potato soup. Potato soup's delicious. I'm gonna crank the saturation. This is full saturation right there. Did you clip me saying Poyo Poyo? I don't know what that means. If it's inappropriate, I should ban you. No, I'm kidding. I mean, maybe no. But yeah, please try not to, like, yeah, I don't know. Whatever. Do whatever you want, actually. I don't care. Although, what am I doing? Didn't I just make this saturated? Now it's not? It's Kirby? Okay. Hold on. I'll have to look at the clip in a moment. No, I don't think I've ever banned anyone for something like that. Saturation. Okay, what if I make this more saturated? I just want to play around for a moment. But yeah, Kath, I'm glad you like it. Also, Kath, I love what you did. I don't know, I already told you in the other server, but the stairs on the... Okay, can I just show this off? Because I'm super... I don't know, I mean, I'm proud of it, but also Kath did part of it, so, or most of it, so... But I'm just... Okay, remember a while back, for you guys who probably... Some of you might remember this, I did like a Minecraft painting on stream. It was of a build that we are building, well, we had barely just started. Here, where is it? This. So a while back, I made this. It was sort of like somewhere between concept art and fan art of a build that we're working on. This is going to be a tower that was in our Minecraft server. I want to show something. I want to show... So we've been working on it, and I want to show you the real thing. This is the real thing. Look how close it is to, like, our concept art. Actually, it looks way better. The actual build looks way better. So this is the thing that we're building in our Minecraft server. It's not finished, but look at that. All right, you guys can't see that. There we go. Look at that. So this is the one. This is the art that I made, and then this is the build that me and Kath are working on. I still just see the painting. So anyway, so it's super cool. I like them both. Yeah, it's neat. Obviously, this is, you know, we're also doing, like, you know, detailing it and stuff up close. And also, this doesn't have shaders or anything, and it's not at night, and there's no cool lighting. Now I see yeah, I was a little slow to put it there. But anyway, so that's kind of cool that it's pretty close. Like, it's very similar to the concept art. And of course, like, I don't know if that was intentional that Kath took that exact same angle, but it's very close. Anyway, so yeah, if the thing's not finished, I will probably show it at some other point, but I'm really enjoying this. It's neat to see a thing that is not just like, you know, an image off Pinterest, completely, you know, like, we kind of thought this up, or Kath mostly thought this up, then I painted it, and then this is probably, yeah. So it's mostly Kath, but I'm still proud of us. Also, that's very bright. Oof. I did a sketch of yeah, Kath did the OG sketch, so it's sort of Kath's brainchild project. You're off to troll? Alright, happy trolling, Artie. I will look at the stuff. I'm not gonna look at the Google Docs right now, but I will look at the Twitch clip. Let's take a look. I'm afraid of what I'm gonna see or hear. I don't know what that means. Hello, RD Draws. Hope you're doing well. Gotcha. Let's see. Drawing. Wait, I did a sketch at the very beginning, but Joe did the main building stuff, especially the gradient and the break in the middle. Yeah, it was a team effort. Good teamwork. Vegas says, drawing a funky hairstyle from the opposite side is a lot harder than I thought it would be. Ooh, yeah. I feel like funky hairstyles or just hairstyles in general. And clothing. There's a lot of things where, like, it really starts to call into question, like, do you understand what's happening? Right? Like where one part of the hair connects to the next, you know, like with braids or something. Like, everybody might know what a braid looks like, and everybody knows what a non-braided hair looks like, but what is that part where the hair is pulled into the braid, you know? How does that wrap around the head and all that stuff? It's like, those things are so hard because you really have to end up knowing what the forms are. Same with, like, shirts and stuff and clothing, where, like, you have parts of a clothing where they overlap. That's easy, but what about those connecting? It's like the equivalent of what's that word in spaces, like a liminal space. It's like the spaces between spaces. You kind of, your brain just kind of doesn't even really think about them almost. It's like the hallways, you know, the places you pass through to get to another space. You just kind of block it out, and it's funny because, like, when you go to paint those things, you're like, I don't know what this thing looks like. Like, I know what the main rooms look like, but what are the random hallways, and how does it connect, and how does the geometry work? It feels like that. It's like it feels very analogous, where you have parts of a design where you just don't really focus on it. It's not the focal point of a design, right? Or a hairstyle or whatever. There's just, like, parts of it that are just weird. I don't know. I don't know if any of that made sense, but that's how I think about that stuff a little bit. Like, I think that happens a lot with, like, there's that classic bicycle experiment, you know, that asking people to draw a bicycle. Like, everybody knows bicycles have handlebars and wheels, but, like, who focuses on the frame and how the connecting bits that turn fit together? Like, nobody thinks about that stuff. Not really. And then when it comes time to actually design it or draw it, you're like, oh crap, I don't know what a bicycle looks like. Like, yeah, I mean, we know that they have two wheels, pedals, handlebars. Like, the stuff we interact with, we understand, but it's the other stuff. It's the frame, the parts that in between the parts. And I don't know, I just think that's like, if you try to observe the world like that and look at all the things that nobody looks at, it's really interesting. There's, like, a bunch of just random stuff. And sometimes they're intentionally hard to see. Like, isn't there that stuff like Disney makes their... Or maybe it's not Disney. Is it Disney who makes their trash can a color that is, like, specifically designed to not draw attention to itself? So that you don't see the garbage? Like, if there's a garbage can against a wall, you just walk by it, and, like, you're never supposed to be, your attention's never supposed to be drawn to the thing. You're supposed to just, like, pass it by. Unless, of course, you're looking for it. Then you can find the garbage cans. Yeah, it's designed to blend in. Which, you know, I think a lot of times you don't even need to design that stuff to blend in. Like, they do. Like, I think a lot of sort of things that you don't interact with but are important, we just don't look at them. Because they're not things that we engage with, and so our attention just isn't there. I don't know. I think it's fascinating. Lots of really cool stuff along that design and attention and how and what people pay attention to. It's all very closely connected to art. I'm gonna try to add some bright blue in here, but right along here maybe? Something like that could work. Or do we want to add it in the corner? There. I think that works. Maybe we can do some blending here. That could be good too. But yeah, I'm kind of giving this a little bit of like a surface treatment. I'm just kind of going over it, blending things, smudging, a lot of mixing, trying to do, you know, figure out where do I want hard edges, where do I want soft edges. Thinking a little bit about like what are the important shapes, what are the non-important shapes. And also just looking, like sometimes there's little stuff like this. Like I don't know where this came from. I think there was a bird here at one point. Right, I drew like a little, just a V for a bird, and it kind of made its way in here, and it almost looks like plants, and I kind of like that. Like, what if there's little plants and stuff sticking up? That might be too detailed there. Kath, if you're still here, I was gonna ask, do you plan on playing any more Minecraft today, or are you all Minecrafted out? Because I know you played a little earlier. Or maybe a lot earlier, depending on how long that thing took. Okay. I think I can play some more today. Yeah, I was talking about how I was a little tired earlier today and how I might have to do a somewhat short stream. But I also skipped thumbnails today. I just jumped straight into a painting, which is kind of fun. I actually really enjoy this painting process. Jumping straight in. It also makes it look nice in a time-lapse. Not that that's what I'm painting for, but it's a happy accident, I guess. Or not an accident, it's like a byproduct. It's nice. It's a thing. Not having thumbnails makes the time-lapse look nice. I don't want to get too late, though. Yeah, understandable. It's super late for you. Oh, do you do more of the no thumbnail streams now? Yeah, I've been trying to do them every once in a while, maybe once every 2 weeks or once a week. I don't know. I think they just look nicer. They make for better social media posts. Also, I don't want to edit things. And it's just nice to be able to... I think it's a better advertisement of the stream in some way. I mean, I don't know. I like to show both, right? I like to do both. I think these are better for social media, and it's not the entire reason I do it. But it is part of it, I think. I don't know. That's like not a good reason to do art. Like, you shouldn't think about... I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's not true. Maybe you should think about where you're going to post it, right? If you're going to design a mural, you should think about the fact that it's going to be on a building and the scale and all that. And, like, if you're going to design something for social media, like, why not think about that? I don't know. I don't think it's inherently wrong, but it does kind of give me a weird feeling of, like, I'm letting social media dictate the type of painting and how I do things. I think as far as process, I guess the issue is process, right? I'm letting it dictate process of like not doing thumbnails because it doesn't look nice to do the, I don't know. But I don't think it really matters. But I do enjoy doing it this way every once in a while. It's also nice just to like be able to paint large and not like trying to teach myself, because I kind of developed a weird habit. So if I had a box here, let's do this. Let's close this for a second. File open. Oh, that's a mess. Hold on. I don't know why it says vote. Okay. So if I had a thumbnail here, for example, I've gotten in a habit where basically I'm just drawing outside the lines, and like that's a good habit, right? To learn to draw through things. You know, if you're gonna draw a tree, and you know, it's okay to draw outside of the frame, you know, and draw another tree back here. Like that's totally fine. You know, making your lines a little long. That's actually a good way to draw things, because then you're sort of you're thinking of the thing as a whole, and you're not trying to like, you know, this is a tree, right? You're actually thinking of it as the tree shape. But I've gotten to that point to where if I'm drawing on a large screen, right, and I don't have the grids here, it's actually really hard. It's hard to like allow myself to not see the whole thing, and I think both are good, right? I think I want to learn how to do a composition this way as a full image, and not be completely like, you know, readjusting the camera every 2 seconds of like, you know, when I had this, sometimes I do this like thing where I'm actually thinking of this as the image, but the cropping is here. So then I have to like readjust my cropping to make it look good, because I didn't actually draw the things where I wanted them. And so there's sort of this like recropping effect that I do a lot. And it's like, I don't know, I think I need to learn a little bit how to design a scene from the start in the picture frame. And so I think, I don't know, drawing through is good, but I think so is not drawing through, and I don't know. It's just a skill that I haven't been doing a lot, so it's kind of fun to switch it up. Which is sort of I think a good philosophy in art, you know. Try lots of things, learn lots of different ways of working, and then you can seamlessly move between them if you need. And you'll just be a more versatile painter. Or artist, or whatever, you know, doesn't have to be painting. You also thought about working on a larger scale in traditional. Yeah, that's one of those things where I think it's so valuable, but I don't think you have to always. I just think it's one of those things where having the skills, like having worked large, not me personally, but just like in general, if you have worked large, there's probably things that you learn, like gesture and, you know, just stuff that is a little, maybe you never really developed as well as you could because you weren't in that environment. And then you learn those skills, and then you can go back to working small, and it'll maybe carry over. Like, you don't really know what's going to carry over, and you don't really know what you're going to learn until you do it, and so it's just worth doing it. I don't know. That's kind of how I think about doing art a lot. It's like, you don't need to become a super large muralist, but like, just having done it is probably a cool experience, and seems good. Seems good to me. More the merrier. Also, I'm drawing little plant. I saw there was a where was it? I saw it on Reddit, but it was, I think it was some country. I think it was Australia. Apparently there is a thing where people decorate. It's like a very common practice for artists to paint on grain silos. I think they have to be commissioned. They've got to be commissioned. But I think they're all commissioned. And the scale that some people are doing photorealism at is wild. It never occurred to me. Like, that... I saw some images of this, of like these very detailed grain silo paintings. And people are doing like full-on... like super realistic stuff, but the scale is so large that I don't know, it's kind of mind-blowing, and I imagine that you would learn a lot from trying to do something very detailed at a large scale. And like, it's not that the brush strokes are large, you have big spots of empty space, but it's sort of it all comes together in this nice illusion. It's kind of neat. I think it's New Zealand. Or, no, I said Australia. I think it's Australia. let's try something. I'm gonna take a smudge brush a little bit. Also, my clock changes, I think, tomorrow. Is that tomorrow? Let me Google. Yeah, my clock changes tomorrow, moving back an hour. So right now, I think Europe is an hour ahead of us, or back behind us. I don't know. I think you guys are 9 hours. It's normally you're 9 hours. I think right now you're 8 hours, right? I think Europe is 8 hours right now, but tomorrow it'll be 9 hours again. So stream will be at a different time, I think. I mean, I will be at a different time, but whether it's forward or behind, I don't recall. I gotta like actually think about that, and my brain doesn't want to think. I'm being lazy. Okay, let me think about it. So if my clock changes, yeah, you guys switched to winter time about a week ago. Yeah, and then so we switched tomorrow. So normally you're 9 hours, and then you went back because you're ahead of me, so we got closer in time. And so when I go back, it'll bring us further away, right? So yeah, we'll be back to 9 hours. But from my point of view, yeah, it'll be back to 9 hours. So you'll win an hour of sleep. No, because I'll be working. I'll be at work. And so I'll have been at work for a couple hours, and then I'll look at the clock, and it will feel like my time hasn't moved. And I'll be like, what happened? I feel like I've been here for 3 hours, but the clock's only saying I've been here for 2 hours, and then I'll get all depressed. No, it'll be okay, though. It just means I'll get to go home earlier. You have to work more? No, I don't have to work more. No. I try not to work during the clock change because quite frankly, I don't trust my workplace to keep track of it well. I don't know if their system does from I've actually talked about this before on stream. I don't know for sure if our system just records the clock in time. So, for example, there's two ways to record time, right? There's like a stopwatch, right, which would tick up second by second. So it would just keep a running digital tally of how long you've worked. And it would say, it would just keep ticking and be like, you've reached 8 hours and 50 minutes, or that's a long work shift, 6 hours and 52 minutes, right? And then time would keep ticking up, right? This would be unaffected by daylight savings. But, and this is where I don't actually know, but I don't trust my workplace, but I have a hunch if it said I clocked in at, let's say, midnight, and then I clock off, so this would be on or in, and then I would go out at, let's say, 6 a.m., right? Well, what happens when clock changes in the middle? Does it know clock changed? And does this just say I've only worked 6 hours, even though we've added an extra hour and I've actually worked 7? I don't know, and I don't like trying to figure out and make sure that it's on my pay. I don't trust my workplace to do that properly, so I try to actually avoid the clock change when I'm at work by just like not being there, because I just don't trust them to have a good method, because there's definitely a way in which they don't record it properly. Now you could argue, but if you work on the other time of the year, it balances out. But like, yes, but what if I'm not working then? I don't know. Yeah, exactly. It would just depend on the programming, but I assume it would count. It probably does, because it's a well-known issue. But I don't have any trust in my workplace to like make sure that this is done correctly, and they don't have any incentive to make sure it's done correctly, probably, because they don't want to pay people more. Although again, it would balance out, so from them it wouldn't matter. But I don't know. It just feels like one of those things where not enough people probably care that if it is ever wrong, I don't know if they would fix it. I don't know. And I don't know if anybody would catch it because I don't, you'd have to have people who, there's only like 2 people working in the store at that time. And you'd have to have one of those 2 people being attentive enough to their pay to know that they've lost 1 hour. I don't know if people would notice. I don't think I would notice unless I was looking for it. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they do calculate it correctly, but I could also see them not. It wouldn't surprise me in the least if I found out they were screwing people. Unless they use their own system to track hours, it probably... Yeah, I'm sure it's a system designed by people. Yeah. I get what you're saying. And you're probably right. It probably is perfectly fine. It's a system designed, that's being implemented all over the country, in many businesses. Probably many of who, again, I'm sure it's perfectly fine, but, how many companies have, how many of those companies have employees who work overnight? I don't know. Probably lots of them, but I don't know. I'm not really, it's one of those things where it's probably nothing to worry about. I'm sure it also wouldn't be hard to figure it out by just double checking my pay. But I don't know. It doesn't really change anything in terms of like how I operate. So, if I have to, it's like a difference of going into work an hour later. So if I just sleep in or go to work an hour earlier or whatever, depending on the time of the year. But it definitely feels like a type of problem that at some point probably has existed, Like, it may not exist right now, but my guess is at some point that was a problem. So it feels like a very easy problem or mistake to make. In my very limited knowledge of programming. Because, like, I know on, like... And again, I realize the display is not the same thing as like what's actually how it's programmed, but the way that it displays the information to us is as just start time, end time, right? And that's just how it shows it. So it probably isn't any indicator if that's actually how it's calculating it, but I don't know. I have very low trust in my workplace. Let's put it that way. So if something could be in like going against you in terms of like it probably is. Like that's just yeah, I don't like saying it, but I have zero loyalty to my workplace. Outside of I will do my job so long as they pay me, that kind of thing. Like I will fulfill my obligation. The data in the backend is stored in the UTC or as timestamp, which is universal. Gotcha. Yeah, I'm sure it's perfectly fine. It's one of those things that crosses my mind of like, yeah, I could. But yeah. I'm sure it's fine. It doesn't keep me up at night. Most companies have a person who work with this every month, so they usually know when to add an hour if the system doesn't do it. Oh yeah, I would not trust that person. Like, that's the thing, right? I think some companies, again, I agree with Vegas that, like, I work for a bigger store and they almost certainly use a system that is used by hundreds of other companies and I'm sure they have it nailed down to where it's working properly as intended. But that's the thing, right? A lot of places would be like, well, we'll just add the extra hour because we know, right? We know who's working there. I don't trust people to do that stuff, right? If it requires human intervention to remember to add, or I mean, there will be things like, you know, you could leave this is a thing that happens all the time at where I work. So if people are sick, right, they need to call in sick, they'll tell the store manager, hey, like I was sick, please add an hour, or, you know, please add a sick day, you know, so that I can get paid for it, because it doesn't do it automatically. You have to request it. And so you'll request it, and he just won't do it. Because it's like, oh, it slipped his mind. He thinks that he'll remember, and he doesn't, right? It's like people who think they have good memories end up, you know, because he won't even write it down. He'll just be like, oh, I'll remember. I don't believe you. Like, I'm sorry. You have screwed up way too many times for you to be a reliable source. I don't trust you. And so, yeah, I would never trust someone to be like, yeah, I'll add it. Just trust me, bro. Like, no thanks. Do it now, or write it down at the very least, and then I will check and then remind you when you inevitably don't do it. So yeah, no, so long as it's automated, which it probably is, that's fine. But yeah, no, I don't like the school of thought where, oh, it happens every year. We will remember. Maybe. Like, my boss doesn't even know what my job is. So I don't trust him to do anything. Yeah. I don't like putting things like that in the hands of other people when it comes to memory and, like, basically fallibility. Like, people make mistakes. I make mistakes. I know other people make mistakes. I'd prefer a good systems approach to that, and where the mistake is just not going to happen because it's automated, or it's just baked into the system to where it doesn't matter if it's automated because you know, it just doesn't, you know, it'll correct for it. But that type of thing is just too important to me. Yeah, I would just, it reminds me, so back a couple years ago when I took a vacation to Austria, there's a similar issue where, like, I knew that so long as I could get onto the airplane, I would not miss my flight, right? Like, the only nervous part was getting through customs, getting through the checkout, not having long lines, not relying on other people to be quick about things, right? If I'm standing in line and people are fumbling, you know, like, yeah, I'm gonna show up super early, but, like, what if someone else is dumb, you know? And so the biggest stressor, not the biggest, but, like, going to, you know, flying abroad wasn't a big deal. You know, I got there plenty early, but there was a time constraint on the way back, which is getting to the airport, right? So the night before, I was staying with Rona, and so I had her, so she called the taxi cab and was like, you know, she did the scheduling because I didn't speak German, and it was just much easier that way, and she didn't have any problem doing it. But I remember she, you know, rattled off the address and the time, and then, like, 1 second later, she hung up the phone. I'm like, did they repeat it back to you? Did they get the address right? Did they get the time right? I'm like, I wasn't the one listening, and so I there was this, like, trust of, like, was everything communicated properly? Did, you know, like, when I hear a date, I always, like, repeat it back to them to make sure that I got it correctly, and, like, I don't know if they did that, and so now I'm just hoping, I'm trusting that this taxi company is going to appear at the right time. I don't know. It's completely out of my hands, basically, and that was the most nervous thing, of, like, putting that trust in, not in Rona, but in the taxi company, to make sure that because, like, it just felt very, like, you know, it wasn't done online, and there was no record of it. It was all done verbally, and it felt very sketchy, you know? That kind of thing, I just don't like that. I would much rather have it in writing. Give me a receipt, show me the time. That way I know that they know that I know when they're gonna be there, right? Like, I want everybody to be on the same page, right? I don't like this weird mismatch of information that always just drives me crazy. So yeah, that was one of the biggest, maybe not the biggest stressor, but like that's a thing that does cause me it's annoying a little bit. Like I maybe I have trust issues. I think I have trust issues with systems, right? If the system is clearly poorly designed to where it relies on trust, I think it's bad. It's just a bad system. Now, that's obviously not true in every aspect of life. There are things that don't rely on trust, but or that do rely on trust, and trust is fine. It's great to have trust. You should trust the people around you. But when it comes to like employers who are motivated to do things differently, or random strangers, I don't trust them. I don't think they're malicious. I just think people make mistakes, and you know, you don't want to put a high stake situation in the trust of a stranger. I feel like you want to have a system to where that isn't even a factor. Anyway, that's my take on it. I feel like stream is just a time where I confess all the weird stuff about myself, like all my insecurities. It's like my own little personal therapy session. Thank you guys for coming to my therapy session, where I talk through my problems. I very much appreciate it. And thanks for being here. Also, we paint sometimes. Some painting gets done. You're welcome. Yeah. We do some painting on stream. I'm chatting. Gonna put some very distant little buildings back here. So why is my eye watering? I don't know. It's where I'm not crying. I don't know what it is. I think I just wasn't blinking for a while. It's okay to cry? Oh, I know it is. I just don't know why. I just don't know why I'm crying. Hold on. Also, I'm gonna... Why is... Oh crap, my glasses. Why is my tear, my just one eye is leaking. There. Yeah, it just let it all out. I know. Thank you. I appreciate your shoulder to cry on. For some reason, my heads in this frame are a bit too large, but it kind of looks cool, but doesn't match the rest of the comic. Ooh, that's a tricky situation, right? It's like a style change where you have to like, okay, do I like it? If I do, what do I do about it? I was gonna have some white walls of like stone walls, kind of, or not stone, but some sort of white material. Stucco, maybe. I don't know what type of material is. Maybe just painted white. Something like that, maybe. Maybe not walls. Yeah, maybe the walls of the building, I guess.
Something like that. I don't want to make this too big either. But then it gets kind of weird when you have just like a little shape over here. I don't like this shape. Gotta go down here a little bit, make the angles look good. So I'm not a big fan of this. But that might just be an issue with the amount of it. Like, for example, if I add some brighter material over here, or over here. Actually, we could do that. Going along the line of that, you know, different material philosophy that I just explained earlier. Do something like this. Just trying to add a little bit of detail around here. A little bit of, you know, variety in shape and design. Which I think is nice. This is the hardest part for me, by the way, of painting, or a lot of, in a lot of paintings, is this, adding this bright light. I oftentimes don't make it bright enough because it looks really weird if I go too bright. But once you get sort of the illusion to stick, then it almost doesn't matter, and it actually works really well. Also, if these are like, I'm using images from like Holland, or yeah, I typed in Holland. I don't know why specifically Holland, but anyway, like Holland windmills and stuff. But anyway, I don't even know if these are from Holland. But anyway, but yeah, the style of the windmills, all the images are very cloudy. So I assume it's just very gray there, all the time. But I'm making this very sunny, so it's already like kind of weird, and it's like breaking the vibe. It's a very cloudy place, at least all of the images that I can find make it look very, very dismal looking. It's still beautiful though. I assume my style would change as I continue the comic, but I wouldn't have expected it to change so drastically with a single issue. Yeah, that's crazy. But that's always neat though, that like you stumbled across something though that you liked. I think that's neat. I feel like that's a sign you're doing things right. Like, you're clearly experimenting or trying new things in a way that it allows you to fall into new ways of doing it. Okay, I like this. Some of these
darker parts. What if I do dark green? All right, wait, green. Wait, what? No, those are green. I was like, what if I do green? And I color picked it and it was brown. Like, what's happening? No, okay, it was actually green. I just color picked the wrong spot of the image. Let's say a cozy cottage. I like cozy cottages. Now the question is, are there any colors like... I mean, we have the punchy blue color. Right? This vibrant blue. Do we have... What about like a yellow... What about a punchy orange or yellow? Yellow-green? I don't know. Maybe some white flowers. Maybe that's what we need. Something like that. Maybe some sheep. I feel like sheep in here would actually look nice. I'm gonna soften this up a little bit. I think a lot of this can be soft. And then I can paint over it. That's something that I used to do a lot, and I haven't done it in a while. But like I'll take a softener brush or like a smudge brush, and I'll smudge things, especially like this, and then I'll come back over the top of it and sort of re-sculpt things. That way you kind of have some of these colors sort of blend together in interesting ways. Kind of happened accidentally. Yeah, I think that's how a lot of innovations in art happen, you know? You try something that you haven't done in a while, or you just goof up and you do something accidentally and you're like, yeah, that actually looks good. That's why for me personally, it's so important to actually like try to work some sort of experiment into your process. It could be on a separate sheet of paper before you do your final, could be in thumbnail stages, it could just be at random points, you know, duplicate the layer and, you know, add a color dodge layer to it or an overlay just to see what would happen. Like, what if I just did that? Like, maybe it would look stupid. Or what if I took an overlay here and I, you know, darkened up some stuff? You know, what would that look like? And like, maybe it would look good, but maybe it would look stupid. I don't know. But maybe it's worth trying. Because you might discover something that you never would have discovered, you know? Like, what if, does this look good? Certainly looks like something. Like, I actually like the sky. Although, nah, we're gonna go this way. We're just gonna delete it. Delete. I do think, though, that did teach me something. That taught me that I think I can go a little darker on some of the blues. But I don't want to ruin the color variety. I just want the blues, you know? But yeah, this is a nice painting. It's very chill. It's a good November painting, kind of. I mean, it's not very November themed, right? It's very sunny. Feels like a summer painting, but it's a nice first day of the month. Chill painting after Halloween. Sort of the downtime between holidays. Vegas says I finished the line art of my second page, so I'm starting my starting my third page. This is taking a little longer than I had hoped. I was hoping to release it this weekend, but I will probably be another week or two to finish. I overestimate how much time I have to spend on this, I think. Yeah. I feel like that's pretty common though, right? Overestimating how much time something's gonna take. Classic human error. Or I guess how much time you had to spend on it, which is I guess a different thing, but it's still an overestimate. But yeah. Yeah, and it's probably just good to, you know, work on it when you can. Release it when it's ready, not when you want to. But yeah. So wait, is this one of the quicker ones that you were doing? Because you had shared some that was like I forgot which one you're working on, but is this like not the one that you were like very ambitious about, but this was like a different story, right? I don't actually remember. I think you mentioned it. Yeah, this is a different one than the original idea. This new idea came up with a couple months ago. Okay, gotcha. I'm trying to add a few, like, flower-looking flowers. Not everything's going to be detailed. Something that you know, when you're doing environment painting, I think it's good to never paint, like, every flower. You know, if you want to add a few in there, that's fine. In fact, you probably should add a few in there if you're doing like a lot of flowers and stuff. Obviously, not every painting has flowers. But like, you know, adding enough to where when you look at something, like for example, if here's going to be a flower, you know, maybe there's enough breaking the silhouette. All right, let's make this one a little bigger. Actually, these are in the foreground. They can be a bit bigger. Hold on. Something like this, right? But not every flower is going to be breaking the silhouette. You're going to have a few that are just kind of randomly there. But most of them are not, right? Most of them are just going to be random shapes here and there. They're not really clear. But if you kind of look, you're like, oh yeah, they're flowers. And then your brain kind of extrapolates to the rest. You know, maybe there's a few, you know, marks going this way of like, you know, things crossing in front. There's kind of a texture in here. I thought about drawing comics so many times, but it seems like such a huge commitment. Yeah.
It's, I think that's one of those things where I think it's just good to do it. Like, obviously, I'm not just saying just do it. I'm not giving the Shia LaBeouf speech, but I mean, like, you start on a thing. Maybe it's a small comic, maybe it's 3 pages. And I mean, I think like anything, right? You start super small. You don't need to do some ambitious thing. And then you do a chapter at a time. Like, isn't that the story of how like The Martian, the book, was written? It never started as like a big book. It wasn't him saying, I'm gonna write a book. It was literally, I'm gonna write like a series of journal entries for this thing. And each one is basically, it's a short story. Not really, but kind of, right? And it sort of continues the experience. And like, maybe he was ambitious. I don't know the exact story, but like, you don't really know where it's gonna end, right? Like, you don't have to plan the whole thing. You just start, do a tiny little thing. I mean, I think there was so many people will do like a little, 3 to 10 panel comic strip, and then it's, yeah, the book. The book for the movie with the same name? Yeah, it started as a blog. Yeah, The Martian started as a blog where it was like day 1, trapped on the planet. And then he would just write himself into a corner with like a technical problem. Then he had a community of people who was like interested in like trying to solve the problems and stuff. And then they would solve the problem, and each day was basically like a new problem to solve, of like, what are the things that could go wrong if you're stranded on Mars? And then they would try to like, okay, well, you got to do this, and here's like this technical problem. And it was just like a writing experiment. It wasn't really a story. I mean, it kind of was, but like, then it turned into The Martian. And like, of course, then filling in all the parts. But anyway, I don't know why I brought that up, but there's lots of examples, I think, where people just start with a small thing. Maybe it's like again, 3 or 4 panels or something, or pages, and it's a story in just those pages. But then you're like, what if I did another small story, and then another, and then as you get more comfortable, maybe you do take on more, you have bigger plans. But like, I think just starting small, I don't know, it's easier said than done, I guess. Hail Mary Project? Yeah, I haven't read it because I haven't found an audiobook for it. They're all in Spanish. My library only has Spanish Hail Mary Project books. I don't know why. But I want to read the audiobook. I mean, I have a Kindle, and I could get it there. It's on Audible. Yeah, I'll probably do that. I actually have a 3-month Audible thing for the 99 cents that my second month is about ready to start. I'll probably get it. I haven't had Audible since the book came out until just now. But I got a different book, so I have to wait till my month is up. But yeah, I do really want to read that book. Yeah, good author, from what I can tell. But then again, I do also want to wait, because there's another book that I'm really looking forward to called, well, the original was called The Will of the Many. I think the next one is called The Might of the Few, or the Strength of the Few, the something of the Few. I don't know. But anyway, it's the book is called The Will of the Many, is the first one. And that was a really good book. And that's coming out November something, like November 9th, I think Kath said. The Strength of the Few. Yeah. And so that's coming out, and I assume it'll be on Audible as well. My back is itchy. So I don't know if I'm gonna get Project Hail Mary soon, because I'm kind of looking forward to this other book. So I think the 11th. Gotcha. It's kind of sci-fi. It's sort of sci-fi. The Will of the Many is... I don't know what you would call The Will of the Many, honestly. It's like sci-fi fantasy. It does read...
It does read as fantasy though. Like technically it's I think it's kind of the Star Wars effect, you know? Like Star Wars is definitely fantasy, but it's sort of sci-fi coded, you know? It has tech, it has all that, but like it reads kind of as fantasy. That's kind of how I think of The Will of the Many. Like, it technically is sci-fi, but let's be real. It's basically just magic. They're just using the Force. It happens to take place in a future, and they're advanced tech, but the tech is... Yeah. Like, they don't focus on the tech, right? The tech isn't the... They don't explain how it works. They just, like... It does, kinda. Yeah, exactly, right? But if you look at it visually, it's visually it looks like sci-fi, but practically speaking and story-wise, it's totally fantasy. So I think that's very similar to how The Will of the Many is. Like, it kind of is sci-fi, kind of, but also kind of fantasy. I don't know. It's sort of like whatever you want it to be. It's a good book. You might enjoy it, Vegas. I mean, I don't really know if you'd enjoy it, but I think you would. I bet you would. It's a cool premise, at the very least. I think it's worth reading. It's a good book. It definitely has a good flavor of dystopian, which I think you like. Very messed up social structures. Which honestly isn't even that different from our real world. I mean, not really. Except they kind of take this like hierarchical structure and it's literal, like, not just money but literal strength, and it's very interesting. I like when they talk about the tech. Yeah, that's what I like. Three Body Problem and Project Hail Mary. Yeah. They get deep into the science a lot. That's good. I did read what was released of Sun Eater. I don't know what Sun Eater is, which is probably closer to fantasy and space, but they did get into the tech sometimes. I don't know what Sun Eater is. Okay, I think I'm about ready to end stream. I'm liking where this painting's going. These bird things are still in the foreground, which... The next book's supposed to be released soon. Which one? The Three Body Problem? So I read the first Three Body Problem book. Did I start the second? I don't remember. I didn't finish it if I did. I didn't make it very far. I liked it. I don't know why, but that one was... It needed more of my attention, I think, and it's because I listen to audiobooks at work. I think something about the... I mean, I've talked about this problem before. In a lot of books, if I don't know where the story's going, it's hard for me to follow. Like, unless I'm, like, really, really attentive, right? And sort of that can lose my interest a little bit in reading, because I like reading to just be, like, a joy. I don't... You know, I'm not reading fantasy books to like, you know, think through complex problems, really. Like, I like the books with problems in them that are complex, but I hope they're explained in a way that is not complex, right? Like, I don't want to have to decipher the language or figure out what the author is intending to mean, because they're not explaining it. And for some reason, Three Body Problem, it's like this weird... It's like... It's not quite in the sweet spot for me.
it's a little harder to follow like which character. Also, like the names of the characters. I know this is just me being, you know, living in America, not used to different names. But sometimes I won't even know who the characters are because I had a hard time remembering whose name a character is, and they aren't bother re-describing the characters. I know, but but when they're talking up, there's a lot of characters, and they switch dialogue or they switch perspectives, and then I forget who is which character because all they do is refer to them by name. There's no like I think a lot of books, they will re-describe characters in like subtle ways to where even if they didn't say who the character was, something about the way they describe the character will immediately give away who they are, right? Three Body Problem does a lot of just like name drop, like this character does a thing. And like that's great, but I had forgotten who the character was, and now I don't remember if this is the character who did this thing or that thing because you only refer to them by the name. Like the way it was written for me is, and again, it's not like I couldn't follow it. I can follow it if I'm more attentive, but because I'm listening to them when I'm at work, it's not as easy as a listen as it probably could be, I feel like. But I thought the story was really cool, and the first book was awesome, and I knew where it was going, so I could easily follow stuff because it, you know, more or less was the same. It was a little different, but they're different from the Netflix series. But anyway, definitely good. I will probably read the second book. I think also... Oh, no, I know what it was. It wasn't that I didn't enjoy it. I mean, maybe... I don't think I was, like, super into it. But I wanted to finish it, but I think I was renting it from my library. And you can only rent it for, like, a week. And then after that week, or maybe it was 14 days, because I hadn't finished it, it sent it back or whatever. And so I'd have to borrow it from the library again. Not rent, borrow. So that was the thing. My library borrowing ran out. I couldn't put Three Body Problem down. I would just lay on my couch and listen to it for hours. So Three Body Problem was great. The first book was awesome. I listened to that basically straight through. I had no problem finishing it. I think it was the second book. Was it the second book? I don't remember. I forgot what it was called. Was the Dark Forest Problem? Or the, whatever you call it? That idea, which is... I don't remember. No. What was the book called of the second one? Dark Forest, yeah. It was that book. That one was not as easy of a read for me. Because partly because I didn't know where it was going, and so I had to pay more attention, and again, that's a problem when you're trying to work. But yeah, anyway, The Will of the Many is a book that I'm looking forward to, or the Strength of the Few, the sequel. And it was a very easy read. Like, it was... It kept me, like, interested the whole time, even if... And it wasn't, like, complex. And I don't know, I thought it was just a... To me, it was more of a writing style difference, I think. I think I just like the writing. Some books are just really easy to listen to, and you don't have to, like, think about what's happening, because they explain it in a way that sort of follows. I don't know. Hard to explain. Or maybe I'm just dumb, and I need it, like, hand-holding in my books. Yeah, it's just like easy going, and it doesn't feel like a slog. And again, I'm not saying the story's a slog, right? The story in Three Body Problem was awesome, but something about the writing, again, kind of with like my example of the name thing, right, where you like name a character and then you never re-describe who the character is, you just use their name, and you expect the audience to keep track of all the names. That, to me, takes a lot of work to keep track of the names. I have to like really remember. The story could be phenomenal,
but there's just something about that writing style, and it's not just names, right? It's other things. It's locations and events and describing a problem, and you know they'll say something and they'll reference it one time, and if you missed it, you're screwed. And it feels like there's a lot of things to lose track of, and they just, I don't know, I just need more hand holding than that. I need people to drip feed me information that's a little bit repetitive. I don't know. There's just something about it. There's something about that writing style that never quite works for me in the way that I listen to books. Whereas like The Will of the Many, there's The Name of the Wind, which, you know, story-wise probably not the best, but it was good. The writing was great. I loved the writing. Super digestible. I'm trying to think of other authors who do a really good job. I think, like, again, it's really hard for me to say because I never know why I liked why a book sat well with me in terms of the writing. Sometimes it's because like for example, like Ender's Game, right? That's sci-fi. I knew where the story was going because I had seen the movie first. But that to me was very easy because a lot of it was I think also a lot of dialogue. That's another thing for me. When things are described through dialogue, it's extremely easy for me to follow. It's like listening to two people have a conversation and you're just following along. I love that. I love listening to people talk in dialogue. And I think that's why when it's mostly dialogue and you can just follow the conversation, it works well. But the problem is when you don't know who's talking in the conversation, then you get lost, right? Because then anyway. I like books with dialogue. But also it's not always dialogue, because then again, there's a lot of books that are just really nice, like, prose, and it's just good descriptions, and I don't know. I don't think I know enough literary terms to even describe what I like about certain writing styles. It's like, if I like it, I like it, and that's all I know. Oh, I'm gonna read the third Emily Wilde book. Oh, that's another one I want to read. The first two were good. I don't know if that would be a book. Probably not a book for Vegas. I don't know. You might like it. It's definitely sci-fi, not fantasy. Sorry, it's definitely fantasy, not sci-fi. Wait, is it out yet? Wait, third Emily Wilde book. Or did I already read it? Hold on. I need to know what it was called. I think I only read the first two, didn't I? Well, wait, no, that's the encyclopedia. Wait, hold on, which one is this? What is it called? Encyclopedia. Oh no, I did read it. It was good. I read it. I'm like, wait, I read that one. No, okay, I did read that book. Yeah, I already read it. I read it when it came out. I read it, like, right away. Yeah, it was good. Also, this song is so loud. Blasting my eardrums. It can get very purple. I don't know what that means. I know that's a saying, but I couldn't tell you what that means. Compendium of Lost Tales? Yeah. Wait. Is that what it was called? Yeah. Yeah, Compendium of Lost Tales. Yeah. Encyclopedia of Fairies the first, Map of the other lands, and then Compendium of Lost Tales. Yep. Yeah, I already read it. I read the name of the first book, but yeah, it was... I have read it. I saved it for after your exams. Yeah. Also, you find out soon, right? Ish? Or no, you said December. If you passed, although you probably did.
Or maybe you already found out. I don't know. I like this. What's going on here? Probably around Christmas. Man, if you were unsure, that would be so nerve-wracking. Like, if you knew for sure that you, like, if you... Yeah, it just seems like a lot. Not knowing if you pass an exam till Christmas. Oof. To most people, purple writing means over-explain a lot of details, but I tend to like that. So I actually thought when they do that for, like, the ideas or the concepts, it's really easy to follow. My issue was more with, like, characters and places and events than, like, the actual, like, the goings-on. The ideas were cool and easy to follow. And also, again, I don't know if there was many ideas, like, you know, Dark Forest problem, like, that's a pretty classic, like, you know, like, solution or, like, answer to the Fermi paradox. Like, a lot of that stuff's not new, right? Like, I don't know. Anyone who's sort of heard these things before. So, like, those explanations, I don't care if they over-explain that. That's just fun. But to me, it's the yeah, like the characters and the settings and that stuff. If you over-explain those and I've missed anything about what you're explaining, then I'm even more lost, right? It's sort of this, like, you know, you walk into a room and the room is about, they mumble and then they explain what's happening. I'm like, I don't remember where we are. You know, it's like I missed the memo of, like, what's happening. And so now more detail is just digging the hole deeper because they're not giving me new context to explain what room we're in again because they only said it once. And I don't like that. That to me is like, I don't want to make the statement that that's bad writing, but if I were ever to write, that would be like one of the things that I would absolutely take note on and never do that. And there's a lot of examples of writing that do it well that I would use as an example. And, like, it's similar to painting, right? Where, like, if, again, sort of this thing with light and shadow, like, I like it when artists show me multiple ways of, like, you know, what is this? This is a window. What is this? It's also a window. But it's a window in one's in shadow, one's in light. And this is a window in light and shadow. And, like, you're not just putting one thing in one spot, you're using repetition to, like, you know, maybe you show scale. You know, you show a character here, and here, and here. Like, that's just good practice for communicating, right? If you want to communicate things, don't just say it once. Say it different ways. You know, in multiple times. You know, you don't want to be too repetitive either, right? There's obviously an art to it. You know, you gotta be subtle, but... Oh, did that author coin the term Dark Forest? Gotcha. I didn't know that. I didn't know it came from them. That's cool. Because I feel like I had heard the various like Fermi paradox type sort of solutions. I don't know what you want to call it, but like reasons, explanations around why we are seemingly alone. As like, I always thought those were like, you know, philosophical concepts that dated back, I don't know, like over 100 years or something. I didn't realize they were like as recent as that book. I had no idea. Because I know there's like, oh, it's at the wrong time, wrong place, you know. You know, obviously like the Predator, and if your lights are on too loud, you know, if you're too loud or your lights are too bright, then you're taken out, and so you have to hide, you know, that kind of thing. Love the paint. Thank you. I'm enjoying it. This is a pretty chill painting, Casey. Really enjoying this painting. It's sort of just cozy cottage. You know, not a lot of story, but maybe we'll add I mean, there's some stuff, right? This thing in here.
Some dragon things. Maybe we add like a... It's funny, actually, after all this time, I kind of forgot that I had these, like, these dragon thingies swirling around. Adding a little bit of whimsy. Vegas says, I was reading a book that was mostly good, but he used the same set of ways of explaining things over and over, and it was so annoying. Oh, I hate that too. Yeah. No, so I like it when they explain the same thing, but you've got to switch up how you do it, right? If you use, especially when it's like a really obscure phrase, right? Like, I can't, I'm trying to think of an example, but it'd be, yeah, using a very obscure phrase to explain the same, or like the same facial expression that someone makes over and over. It's like, nobody says that, and why are you saying it 10 times in like 3 pages or something? Like, this is absurd. Nobody like grimaces, you know, in a very particular way this often. Like, this is not a thing that happens, and like, I don't know. It's always, I always get a little bit of a chuckle when authors do that. The overuse of very particular phrases. I could see myself doing that though, for like lack of sort of creativity or lack of proofreading. They knit their brows. Yeah, what is that? Yeah, oh my god, I read a book where every 2 seconds somebody knit their brows. I don't even know what that means, but why are they doing it so often? Yeah, yeah, it's always funny when it happens. The biggest example was he released a breath he didn't know he was holding like 30 times in a book. You would think after a while he would have knew he was holding the breath. That's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, I will say, this is a thing. I think I do the art equivalent of that, but hopefully in, like, if I ever get to rendering something, then I will add variety to it. So, like, to me, it's like an editing issue. Like, I think if you were typing something and just, like, letting it flow, like, I think it would be fine to reuse the same phrases because you're trying to make a point and that's more important than, like, your word choice. But, like, at some point in your editing, you should go back and add variety to things to sort of color it in a different way and make it interesting and, like, make it flow, right? Like, surely that is the stage that you would catch it. Like, because I definitely add repetition, or I paint, you know, again, the same thing in the same way. It's like, maybe here, instead of showing just this window here, maybe I actually shouldn't do that. Maybe I should actually show the shadow of this window up here, right? Or the underside of this, and maybe I leave out the white part altogether, right? Or here, maybe I leave out... Oh, hold on. It's saving. Actually, this spot, the white would be good because it adds contrast, right? But maybe here, I actually cut out this side, and I just focus on that dark line, you know? Because it's... Or something, you know, stuff like that, where sometimes you add different details in different spots. Not every square needs to have all 4 sides highlighted. Some can be this. Maybe I do that, you know? I have just those. Maybe another square, I just put the corners. Or I put a corner in these lines, you know? And maybe the next one I do this, you know? Like, they're all squares, but they're leaving out different parts and they're making it different. And I think that's something that I do, or I want to do in my paintings, where not every window is going to be painted as a simple square, you know? Not every roof is going to have or it's kind of like in a face, right? If you only show faces from the front, it's boring. But when you turn them, suddenly this side is different from this side, you know? You have, like, some are scrunched, and it adds variety, right? And then if you're going to show another face, have it in a different angle. Don't have every character in your scene staring straight at the camera with a perfectly soft light. Like, have a variety of shapes. You know, they're all faces. You can have 100 faces in your painting, but just paint them differently, you know? And that's yeah, same thing in writing. If you're going to describe the same setting, describe it differently, you know?
it can still get the same point across. It just is going to do it in a more interesting way. Anyway, that's my rant. Rant over. Thanks for coming to my Jed Talk. Variety is the spice of reading and seeing, right? And just art, all visual. I think variety is the spice of communication. It's any communication, whether it's eyeball communication with reading or paintings, or verbal communication. I'm sure if you're listening to me and I explain the same things same way every time, which I probably do. I am not the most great speaker. Not very eloquent in my words. Okay, I'm gonna end stream here though. I'm happy with this painting. I think I might even work on it again. This could be a fun print, I think. But I'll have to take a look at it next time. Maybe we'll do a render stream next stream. Let's see how it turns out. We could definitely go hard on details in this one. I think, you know what would look really good in this? Or maybe not look good, but it would be good for the story. Having some sort of, like, creature here. Like, playing. You know? Like some sort of, I want to say otter, but like a ferret type creature, like something long and sort of these vaguely that shaped, right? But like jumping through the grass. It needs like an animal right here. I don't know what it would be, but some sort of animal. That's what it needs. But I'll do that next time. Uh-oh, I'm on the wrong layer. Crap. Oh no. There we go. Casey, while you're here, can I ask you what you use for posting comics? Do you use a service or your own site or what? You use Tapes and Webtoon right now, though it's been a while since I posted. Tapas. Not tapes. Reading is hard. I don't know if you still do that comic you used to work on, but I remember you were working on one before. I'd like to pick it up again one day. Just too many projects you're juggling right now. KCB busy. All the stuff. Okay, let's go raid somebody. I wouldn't say let's go raid Casey, but I don't believe she's live right now. Let's see. Let's see who's on. Thank you guys for being here. I stream 3 days a week. Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Today is Saturday, so I'll be live Monday.